Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another romantic episode of Monster Party.
Monster Party!
Monster Party!
Oh, it's going to be lovely.
Oh,
it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be infused with love. But
Love.
before we get to that,
Yes, who are you, sir?
I am Matt Weinhold.
I am SHAWN Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James GONIS.
And for our topic, wow, this is one that kind of, I don't know, it just sort of tugs my heart a little
It's a
bit.
nice topic.
Makes me a little weepy, in a fun, nice place.
Are you joking?
I'm not.
Because I really was. I really
You were joking? Or?
No, I got emotional as I started to write this,
Oh my
this list.
God.
No.
We need to toughen you up.
No, because...
We need to get you in a cage match or something.
Okay, drop the cage. What is our topic?
Our topic is love Monster Party style.
Love Monster Party style for me and
You and the dead.
And Matt, who do we have to guide us through
this guest?
Love Monster Party style?
Comedian, actress, you know her from things like Holliston, The Hills Have Eyes, Guardians of the Galaxy, perhaps you've heard of it.
I've heard of that movie.
Fish hooks.
Fish Hooks, Real Housewives of Horror.
Yes.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, Laura Ortiz.
Laura Ortiz.
Oh.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being
Absolutely.
here.
Our pleasure.
Thrilled.
And you might not know this, but I've been wanting to get you on the show forever.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes, because I would talk to Bruce, and then I learned a little bit more of the stuff that you did. And we got to just get right into this. The first movie role that you ever got was The Hills Have Eyes.
Yes.
The remake of 2006. right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm so amazed because I remember watching that movie, and now in that movie, you're in makeup, kind of.
Well, yes and no.
A little bit of CGI too?
It's a lot of CGI, yeah.
You're quite the looker
is-
here, you know.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks.
We're-
I actually remember seeing the breakdown for that because it was before I really had an agent. I just moved here, but I was sort of, signed up for like Central Casting Actors Access.
Right.
So I would get the random emails, and I remember seeing there was a breakdown that said she's cute but deformed, and I was like, that's me. I can do that. I think I'm like cute, but like not like that cute. Like just enough to be like, but like deformed a little. Like I know my face isn't symmetrical. I'm good for this.
And you didn't do
And they
anything to
liked
kind of improve your chances, like sleep wrong on a pillow the night before, or
No. I didn't think I needed
wear a
to.
helmet that's too small.
I didn't need to.
Okay.
Were there a lot of other actresses trying for the part? Do you know? Or
Always, right?
I've met a couple girls who have said that they went up for it, but during the auditions and the callbacks and all that good stuff, it was actually an audition where I didn't see anybody else who was going in for it or not. I do remember, God, and this was so long ago, when I thought I was one of the choices, if not the choice, when I went to go meet with Alexander Raja. And, there's just so much pressure and excitement. And
Yeah.
throughout it, they kept asking me, like, do you have tape? Are you SAG? And my answer to everything was no. I just landed here.
You've got nothing.
Yeah, I've got
Wow.
nothing.
Right.
Do you feel like that was working in your favor after a while, or?
No, it's always nerve-wracking. You know this business.
Yes.
Like, they're like, what can we make you feel terrible about?
That's true. That's very true.
What haven't you done? It's the one thing we want.
Why are you ruining our movie by showing up to the audition?
Yeah. And so I remember going in, and I kind of felt we had talked about it, and I was like, oh my God, I think this might be it. Like I might have booked this. And then as I was leaving, there was a girl who looked just like me going in, and I don't
With
know
a deep wound in her forehead. And you're like, damn.
And I have no idea if she was going in for a meeting also, or if she happened to work there, if she was just went into the wrong room. I have no idea, but I just remember being like, oh God, I still don't have this. But that was Hollywood.
What an amazing story, though, to like right out of the chute, you book a lead. And this is now all our fans, of course, know The Hills Have Eyes. And the role that you play is like a pivotal role
Yes.
in this story, Ruby. And in the original, the 70s
The Wes
version,
Craven 70s one.
she's the linchpin of that story. You kind of help save the day.
Now, Laura, were you familiar at all with, did you know about the other movie? Did you know this was a remake?
I did know that. I saw it. What's really great about that first movie, actually, that I think helped me more than anything in the audition is watching the commentary of it being made.
Right.
And I mean, Wes Craven produced this one, but he directed the first one, and he obviously wrote it and was the mastermind and the core behind it. So watching his feelings towards it and emotions about it and what he liked about actors and didn't like, and it was more the I watched the movie, I enjoyed it, I liked, but I didn't try to be like the Ruby in that first movie.
Course,
but I sort of took advice from Wes Craven himself in a way, because there's things that I wanted to try in the room or not, but I was new at this. I had no idea really what I was doing. I had some ideas of what I wanted to do, and I actually had a friend. I was taking like a random acting class in school, and there was a guy there who he actually didn't care about acting at all, but it was a hobby for him, and he was goddamn good. And I remember when I got this first audition, I was like, can you help me with this? And so he was like a real theater actor who like coached me through the entire thing. Wow. So I have to give him Kobe Lyons all the credit for that, because he really...
We'll edit that out.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Just kidding, Coach.
Yeah, he doesn't, I mean, I still sometimes talk to him, and he's like, has no interest in the business. He thinks it's fun. And that's all he wants to do.
That. Wow.
Yeah, he's just good at it. He likes to do it. But I remember in class being like, this guy's so good. I want him to help me. That I sort of just focused on the character and who she was, and also on everything that Wes Craven had to say about the movies and taking chances, and he would rather somebody be too big and almost too grounded and too everything than somebody who is reserved and doesn't take chances and plays it safe.
It's like your one chance. Why not go for it, right?
Yeah, so, I do remember in the callback, I was so into it. It's still actually one of my favorite like auditions and memories and in roles, because I was so in it that I remember like I couldn't move my hands. I don't know if it was like nerves or I was just so into it that I remember like my hands just... I remember when I was leaving, trying to open like the door to leave, and my hands like wouldn't close, like they were kind of like. But people always ask me sometimes like, how did you play a deformed girl? And I didn't play a deformed girl. I played a girl in these circumstances, and she was young, and I think she was very pure of heart. And that's what she knew, and she was very curious about this other world, and she pretty much chose good over good and bad. And I think we all sort of inherently know.
She saves the day.
We know. Yeah.
Well, not everyone chooses good over bad. As we know.
Why are you looking at me?
No, I didn't mean it like that exactly.
But Laura, like having just out of the gate, one if not your very first role being like a genre horror thing, before you kind of got in and started doing a lot of genre stuff, were you a horror sci-fi fan growing up?
I was very scared of anything in horror. My best friend growing up was very much into horror movies, and she'd make me watch him, and I was like, I don't know how anybody can be into this. This is so scary. And then to look back now, and that is honestly what has shaped my life in LA, my best friends, everybody that's come out of it. The horror fans are people that really just kind of become your family, and they're with you from the beginning.
Talk about loyal.
Yeah, they're incredibly loyal, and I enjoy it so much, and it was so cool to sort of end up in a place that I didn't really necessarily think that I would be, but it's everything that I would want it to be and have thought that it would be. My best friends from like The Hills Have Eyes, Adam Green was a fan, and I think that's how I met him, and he's one of my best friends. I was the bridesmaid at his wedding, and we've done shows together. We have a movie coming up together, and just all of my friends, and pretty much Derek Mears, Michael Bailey Smith, are people I can just call up and say hi, and they're all people that I met.
We're going to be wanting you to do that, by the way, a little later on.
Sure.
No, that's really cool.
That's crazy. And I would think, being someone who was afraid of horror movies, to go into, now I'm going to watch The Hills Have Eyes.
Which is an intense.
That's an intense movie. I mean, that's one that scares me to this day. There's a moment in that film when now that there are these people out in the hills. From that point on, I am unnerved through the rest of the movie. And where is it coming from? And these guys are just so creepy.
Yeah.
And cannibals.
Well, I guess in a way, like the way I saw it was sort of, there are these people who haven't who aren't quite like as socialized as people who are.
Yeah.
The most severe case of Asperger's.
Yeah, but like the entire society is them. Yeah. I really like love it. I'm so grateful to have fallen like into this really in so many ways. But it was a great movie, and I had so much fun at the premiere. Was when I got to meet Michael Berry Smith.
I went to that premiere, by the way.
Did you?
I did. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because I worked on the website.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, all those years ago.
I had no idea about. So, kind of fun side story. When I first moved to LA, I'd never been to California. I just showed up. I was living in Alhambra because I was like, oh, that's Los Angeles, right? I found a cheap room. And I remember my dad, last minute, he came with me. He's like, oh my God, you're really leaving. And that is one of 2 times I've seen my dad cry, where he said, please don't stay here, come back home. And I was like, I'm gonna stay. And then the next time he came to see me, I was at a premiere. He was my date.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's great.
So it's funny. It's so I'm going through, like the photo lineup, and there's like a million. Just like on TV, lots of lights.
Yeah.
And as soon as I go through, like they all go down. Like nobody cares who I am. I don't have a publicist. I don't even know. I almost couldn't even get into the movie because I had a camera. To like take a picture with myself and my dad.
Sure.
And it was super sweet, adorable, amazing. I'll forever love her, Vanessa Shaw, who came out and she's like, no, she's in the movie. She's coming into the movie. Like this movie isn't starting without her. And I was like, oh my God. And like she just kind of, even after the movie, she's like, the party's here, right? Let's go over here.
That's
And I
great.
was
awesome.
like, oh, thanks. But like, no, everyone could care less that it was me. Like, nobody knew who I was, and
But I'm sure that changed after the film came out. I mean, you really, like I said, you really made an impression in that film.
yeah, but nobody knows what I look like. It was like me, but with like a different eye.
Did you, after that, just wear the fake eye around town?
I have
Hello?
I have the teeth in the hands. I got to keep
nice.
them.
Wow.
Yeah.
You got to keep those?
Yes,
That's
I did.
Oh, you didn't bring them tonight, did you?
No, they're in Florida, actually.
Well,
We gotta go to Florida.
Over.
Yeah.
Road trip.
Yeah. We're going to see Mom.
Now, if we're talking about romance
Yes, we are.
Yes.
and
In sci-fi horror.
in sci-fi horror, I want to talk about The Hills Have Eyes. Now, I want to go back to the original.
Okay, the classic.
Because in the classic,
Yeah.
Bobby,
I was going to say Ruby loved Bobby.
Ruby loved
That's
Bobby.
right. That's
and
true.
in the sequel, the not-so-good sequel to the original, they are a
yes.
couple. Did you know this?
My sequel?
No,
No,
the
I
original.
There was a
like,
70s
No.
sequel to.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a
yeah,
sequel. I don't
not
think
so
so
good.
good.
No.
Was
but,
that Wes Craven also?
I
I think it was.
It was.
Produced it,
No,
right?
I think he directed it too.
It
my.
was. I actually, now that I think about it, I think I did see it way back when.
Yeah, it's
I saw the original. I saw
But
that
it's-
one, and
it's weird because it starts and then Bobby's a little bit older and there's Ruby like wearing like a little business suit or something. And as I'm watching this movie, that's the thing that always gets me about horror movies, that you've gone through this horrible situation and now maybe you've found romance. And now what? Like, what's like 10 years later, it's like Thanksgiving. You're like, hey, remember when you used to eat flesh?
well, I feel like if you think about it, I can only think of a handful of movies right now, but they all have to do and hinge on love, right? And whether you. Everybody in every horror movie is in love with someone, loves somebody, wants that relationship so bad, and then a monster, vampire, or something comes that sort of threatens that. And then there was
Right.
also like, oh, I want to fight this or give into it, but I also don't want to look dumb towards this person I love.
Sure.
And that kind of sets up the movie.
Yeah.
It puts like your love in jeopardy. Actually, it's like it's a test to your love a lot of times.
Yeah.
You know, if it's,
But I always wonder, like, that's the thing that always makes me just kind of crazy when I think about what happens. Like, I want to extrapolate. It's 10 years later.
word.
You guys are, yeah, I like that. It's a word that's in the zeitgeist.
Mine.
Drinking this whiskey because it'll exacerbate this.
But what happens 10 years later? You've been through all this, or a year later, or 2 years later.
Right.
Like, I can't, there's a part of me that's like, okay, it's date night. Hey, let's go to a movie. oh, you look a little down. Oh, yeah, I was just thinking back of when my family were cannibals and they tried to kill you and your whole family, and they did light your dad on fire and all that. But I'll get over it. Where are we going to go eat after this?
But, it's like you understand that when you love somebody. You don't hold it against them. You just know it's part of their story.
Oh, kitten.
or you could think, we all make mistakes when we're younger. And so, it's like, and perhaps you look at each other and you say, perhaps I can learn from this experience. Okay, maybe it wasn't a good idea to light that person on fire. But you know what? I know now. Now I only do animals or something like that, Jeez.
But what about, this is the other thing, too, about Ruby. Because Ruby is the sane one of the group, right?
True.
She's the nice one. Mm-hmm. And you could tell, like, she's not really... She understands that there are other food besides human beings.
Right.
But she's got to live, right? She's got to live.
Right.
And
Yeah,
however...
you don't eat people every day.
I would think not.
Right.
No,
But there's a
slim pickings
there's
out
a
there.
good amount of human flesh in your diet if you're Ruby.
So, recently, I've always been, a meat and potatoes type of gal. Love meat.
Me
But
too.
I recently watched Cowspiracy, and I didn't think it would get me, but it got me.
I
So
haven't seen it.
I'm not buying red meat, but part of the thing that you guys had here was beef fried rice.
There's chicken there.
So no, I had a lot of that. But I was like, this is not gonna get eaten. I don't want it to go.
You can't get
bad.
wasted.
So
right?
I had a little, enough to be like, all right, I tasted it, but maybe we should get more chicken next time.
We had,
I feel like
we had shrimp. We had shrimp.
I also had the
There's
shrimp.
plenty of shrimp.
And those shrimp died horribly. I made sure of it.
Those shrimp, they had no clue. Come on.
I only watched the first half of Cowspiracy because I thought I could
Cowspiracy.
so I can only eat. I knew that I could only really give up one thing at a time.
Right.
And I'll still
Right.
eat it. If it we still have meat in our fridge since I last watched it. I'll
What kind
finish
of meat?
eating it.
And they force it to go
Describe
here.
it slowly.
Hot dogs, all beef franks.
Oh, my
All
God.
beef kosher franks.
Oh, sweet.
No, they're delicious. I had one, but today. But once it's I'm rationing it because I know I'm gonna not eat as much of it now.
Sure.
So I feel like that ties into Ruby.
Okay.
Sure.
She grew up eating it. She's not gonna stop. She doesn't necessarily know it's wrong, but because she's been told and she cares about people.
Yeah, I think she has a
she's
sense of
going to-
perspective.
Yeah, she's going to start phasing it out.
Right.
But now,
If somebody dies, she might eat it, but she's not going to kill for it.
because again, that's just wasteful.
Yeah.
If you're
Sure.
not going to let a body just lie there and
Yeah.
not get at least the glutes or,
A little. I heard the glute. Oh my god! I watched too much crime TV. I was like, actually, I heard the glute and the breast are the fattiest part. You don't want that.
You don't? Because I thought it would be marbled.
Like a little wagyu beef. You're like, oh, this is
Wagyu
what-
beef, yeah. Oh, we got to go to Japan.
Yeah.
Oh,
Whoa,
man.
whoa. No. Are you, no. Come on.
What?
You're getting into the whole fin thing and
No, I'm ready to eat.
I envision these poor little sharks, out there trying to swim without their little fins,
What does that have to do with Wagyu
Well,
beef?
aren't you okay, not okay.
What were you talking about?
Well, I was just thinking about, the big shark fin soup thing and that
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
thing,
Well,
and I
but see,
feel bad.
here's the thing with that. Is it so?
I mean, take the whole shark. Don't just
eat the
those
whole
little
shark.
fins,
If we've learned one thing from this podcast, eat the whole shark. Right?
Eat the entire animal.
Eat the
It's
entire
best thing.
animal.
I love meat and animals. Eating them. I went into a whole. Have you ever heard? Because I've heard of people eating many different things. I've never heard of anyone eating a tiger or a lion. So I looked it up.
Okay.
Not good to eat. Apparently very tough.
No.
Not tasty.
Interesting.
That's good for the
That's why
tiger
gamey.
and lion,
Wow.
though.
Yeah, pretty gamey,
All
I'm thinking.
muscle.
What about hippo?
I don't know yet.
But wait, now getting back to Ruby.
Romance,
Getting back to Ruby.
hippos and tigers.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Yeah. Yeah, this is great.
but
This is
wait.
great.
But getting back to, because here's the thing with Ruby, is I would think that at a point in time, you're with your guy, and with me being a meat eater as well, I love meat. And if I walk down the street and there's a restaurant cooking some meat, and you just go, how you go away when you smell that barbecue,
Yeah.
oh God,
Yeah.
There's had to be some intimate moments where Ruby just turned to Bobby and just went, God, I want some
Yeah, just
human flesh.
snipped
God.
his neck and was like, "Here."
Look, can I just get a toenail and just fry it?
Tonight's
Just
topic,
anything to just bring me back for a moment.
monster
I'm not
party,
a monster, but I have my needs.
meat. Okay, well,
Sure.
I
see that.
know.
The hills have teeth.
No, I don't see that. I really don't. But this is your ultimate
No, I am.
Okay,
No, I am.
This is like it sounds like it's a love of food, of a particular food item.
It's, in a relationship.
Yes.
In a relationship, you know what I'm talking about. Like you date someone for a while, and then that's the romance period, and then you get to know them a little bit, and then the warts start to come out. But then you go, oh, okay, I can accept that.
Warts,
and they can accept me for this. And with Bobby and Ruby, I'm saying, forget about just the food. The idea that she went through all this stuff in therapy and screaming at night about what happened. Like, how do you get over that? And that's the part that fascinates me, being able to overcome the tragedy of how you met, which is in the hills, trying to defend the baby that was about to be eaten.
Well,
like PTSD in a way.
Yeah.
I think that over a period of time, Matt, I just don't think that relationship is going to work out.
It'll work out.
No.
Don't take Bobby away from Ruby.
No, I think there's going to be a lot of guilt. There's going to be some serious guilt.
But doesn't that make the sex hotter? Right?
What, guilt?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, you're horrible. What? I've
Don't act me out, please. Please, God, no.
I love that he's acting you out. I'm just sitting here watching.
Okay, so we've covered Hills Have Eyes, right?
Okay.
Because this is great.
But now, Laura, do you have an example of a romantic or a relationship thing within a genre setting that you see as something that's difficult or perfect?
Significant in horror or fantasy or sci-fi?
All I can think about right now, as you say, that is Fight Club, The Notebook, and Scream.
Yes, Scream. The Notebook. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, hey, there you go. Scream.
Scream has
It's got Sydney and Kirk Ulrich.
Skeet Ulrich. He's the guy you get when you can't get Johnny Depp. Right?
So handsome, both of them.
They are.
Wow,
Not gonna back off from that.
I've never thought of that. But a
little bit, right?
They look exactly the same.
Yeah.
but also Courtney Cox and
Drew Barrymore?
No, and David Arquette as Dewey. I mean, they have a relationship that in there, a romantic relationship that carries over into the sequels too.
And in real life.
Yeah.
Right.
And just like in the movies, it just doesn't work out in real life.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Sometimes you can't get over a tragedy like that.
Yeah, they're like, remember when we killed people together and then there were our friends killed? We can't make this work.
This is a good path for us because the idea that maybe what you need to do to get the relationship to work, one of you can't just be the killer. You both have to be the killer.
Yeah, well, you need something that ties you, and you need to have something over the other one that you know could screw you over and screw them over. Right?
So like a little bit of cat and mouse.
It's a little sexy.
Okay, I see.
Okay, so there are a lot of relationship things in the whole Scream thing, but I wanted to pick on a movie that really has a tragic love story.
Romeo and Juliet.
Talk about no. Talk about a classic. This is a great horror film, and I tell you, I was rooting for this to work out. I really was. And I'm talking about the great tragic love story from 1986, David Cronenberg's The Fly.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Now let me tell you, have you seen that?
He was a fly. She
whoa.
loved him.
Hang on. You're like rushing it, honey. You're rushing it.
I think I've seen it probably in Spanish before I spoke English, and
it's better in Spanish.
Yeah.
Fly gets girl, fly loses girl.
Okay, see, everyone's doing it. Oh, the guy's a fly. No, it doesn't start out that way. Think of it this way: he's a scientist. And he's doing science, and he's trying to figure out a way. Okay, look. I get motion sickness in my car. Oh, I don't like it. I want to create a way where I can transport you from point A to point B. And at this science conference, he meets this reporter who's trying to find a story. And that is the beautiful Gina Davis. And she's talking to this guy, Jeff Goldblum, who has this wonderful idea about how to transport people. And he says, hey, let me take you to my lab and show you stuff. And she goes, oh, okay, let me see if this works. And he shows her these teleportation devices. Okay, it's like you.
What if I could show you a faster way to get an apartment?
Okay. No. Okay, look. She goes along with it, and you know what? He gets into one pod, or it shows something that goes from one pod, and zap goes to another pod from point A to point B. Oh my God, this is amazing! This can change the world of transportation. That's unbelievable. But whoa! We have to slow it down. I haven't figured out quite yet. Because it hasn't really figured out how to deal with flesh. I can move things that are like inanimate objects, like a glass or a book or something like that. But when it comes to living things, it gets a little messy. But they start this romantic relationship. And I got to tell you, the first time I saw Gina Davis was actually in Tootsie, and she was really hot. I mean, I loved her, absolutely loved her. But her dedication to him to try to, hey, we're going to make this work, and I want to document this whole thing. And so she tries to document him creating this whole thing.
And they have a real chemistry.
They do have a chemistry.
Which spilled over into real life.
Yes. But the cool thing is, there's no fly right off the bat. No, this is
like in the original movie.
Yes.
Where you didn't see a romance.
Well,
No.
the thing about Cronenberg's The Fly that's really interesting from that relationship point of view is that it's watching a loved one deteriorate slowly,
right,
and lose his humanity.
Yeah, but for listeners who aren't familiar with The Fly, like Laura, she doesn't know.
I saw it in Spanish.
Okay. You saw it in Spanish. Okay, but what's cool is he decides he when they try to take a baboon, he thinks he's got it right, and he tries to transport baboon from point A to point B. It does not work, and we're shown this great graphic Cronenberg creation of where this baboon is turned inside out, kind of a thing. But he does some things where he fixes the machine, and he gets all excited about trying to make it work, and he tries it again, and it works, and he's so excited. He's had a couple drinks. He decides, I'm gonna put myself in this. And so, you can't go with your.
Are you blaming drinks?
No.
On this?
Am I bringing? You know what?
Ever
You know
do
what?
that.
No. You know what? Cocktails may have something to do with it. But here's the thing.
You know what?
He gets quiet. So what he does is he gets in this pod and he's nude and he's in there and he's gonna start, and a little fly goes in
Makes that
to the
sound.
pod. Yes,
Exactly.
makes that sound. And so, zap! He goes from point A to point B. And so everything that was within that pod gets fused. And at first, from point A to point B. And when he gets out, he goes, oh my God, I feel great. I feel fantastic. And so we're thinking, oh my God, it worked, But what happens is, slowly but surely, he starts to change because the DNA, the stuff that made it the fly, starts to take over within his body. And as Sean,
But what did he want to switch himself to? I missed that part.
No.
He had originally-
He just wanted to travel.
He's trying to travel from point A to
From one
point
pod to
B.
one pod. Like the
Transporter.
transporter.
Teleportation.
Okay.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
I'm back in.
And what's so great and what's so tragic is Gina Davis. It really, even as he starts to deteriorate, as Sean said, she still loves him.
She sticks with him.
She's
It's
still,
like-
even when he goes through, he has these problems. He's freaking out. He's eating all this
These
sugar,
problems.
and he's, climbing on the walls and stuff. But she's sticking with him all the way to the very end.
I would say not all the way until the very end.
No, she's there at the end. She's there at the end. Right,
yes.
and
Not-
what it says,
not in a
you could be-
romantic way.
You could be a hideous,
She meant
grotesque.
someone else.
No, no.
There is another potential love interest
But that was an
Yeah.
ex-lover.
His?
for her.
I'm just
For her,
look.
yeah.
I was
No.
like-
It is a great tragic
What do you-
love
yeah. It's a
story
tragic-
where when you get to the end and there's a decision that needs to be made, and our Jeff Glowboom character, our Brendel Fly guy, kind of helps her make this decision, and it's tragic, but it's beautiful and grotesque all at the same time. And I would recommend The Fly from 1986,
Well, yeah,
David Cronenberg's.
I think anytime you
Fly. It's
have,
a
you have
classic
like if one
love
of the
story.
a loved one is a monster or turning into a monster. Another good example of that is an American Werewolf in London.
Hey!
we have David
Beauty and the
Naughton.
Beast?
It's kind of like, well, it is kind of like a Beauty and the Beast, but it's like David Naughton and Jenny Agutter, and she finds out that he's bitten by a werewolf, and so he's turning into a werewolf, and she knows it, after a certain point, and she tries to stay and make the relationship work, but it's not going to
And
happen.
see, that's the theme across the board here with Brendel Fly
Yeah.
and a werewolf
The theme
thing.
is that we're all lonely and we'll desperately stick to anything.
That is absolutely
it's like you
correct.
finally find that perfect person. They turn out to be,
So
either
what?
a-
What?
No. Are you
No, wait.
I know
so
you're a goddamn fly, but you like me, and I like you.
Well,
too.
nobody's perfect.
No, see, that's great. See, you're someone we don't want to hold on to. If you're, hey, fiance, if you turn into a fly over there, I'm still gonna love you.
No, honey.
Well,
Right. No, there comes a point. I think there comes a point when you go, look, I love you, but I'm not necessarily in love anymore.
maybe it depends on.
because you're a little too much a fly.
We're going in different ways. I want a baby. You're gonna become a pupil thingy.
Oh.
There's a scene.
Larvae.
There's a scene in The Fly where this is how he eats now. Is he like spits up this goo?
He
I
regurgitates
remember
it.
that scene.
and then
I
eats
remember
it,
that
and he
scene,
looks at
Mary.
Gina Davis. He goes, "Oh, that must be gross." or
No.
something. What does he say?
No,
What's
the line is.
She's like, "It's
that's
okay."
disgusting.
That's
He's- he goes,
disgusting.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
disgusting.
Or her dream sequence when she gives birth to a maggot
Yeah,
It's,
I think that's
unwatchable.
isn't that like the kind of like okay, we need to talk. Like the minute you go,
You know what you do? You know, I know what you say. You go, honey, we'll adopt. That's what you say.
Okay.
from what though?
But at the,
What do you like? You know, you would like, oh, there's a fly that's still alive in the bug zapper. Let's raise it like our own.
Oh my God! Can you imagine? Would he get pissed off if you start finding the dead flies and he says, "Honey, you know, are you killing flies?" And you go, "Hey,
like that.
hey,
Is that
it's
your
okay."
Goldblum?
They have a 24-hour lifespan.
Yeah.
That's
well,
true.
Not,
That's
not,
another
Well,
good-
not well for
not
some
if you're-
mutant though.
not- what if it's your
Sure, you have
fiance? What if it's your fiance fly guy? I mean, if he's going to last the reasonable length of time as a human, but he's going to be like a fly.
You know what? Not for nothing, but this just occurred to me. If he was brilliant enough to create a telepod, then wouldn't he have created a program that would have ensured that another organism wouldn't have been?
or it would be something would be detecting that it's
Yes.
in there. Yeah.
Always
Because what about
something.
bacteria?
It flew in the last second.
Yeah,
Right?
Okay,
exactly.
well, we
There's
get-
this
what if there's bacteria in the
James,
pod?
James,
microorganisms in the pod.
James,
you.
it was a science. He's working on it. He was trying to figure it out. He managed to get to so he can get things from go point A to point B. Maybe that was a secondary thing.
I don't
Maybe
know.
no.
I like to think that in programming, you can also easily install a program that can. It's like
It's 1980. Okay,
a bug
you're,
fix.
You're talking about 2017, sir.
Well,
Yeah, this was
okay.
1986. They didn't
All
have that
right,
fancy
all
technology.
right.
Yeah.
And just for the
I guess
record,
in 1980s.
In the 80s, they didn't have the teleportation fly screen.
no. And I'm just going to say,
Yeah.
But I guess in
it's-
the 80s they had the teleportation pod, so it
James,
was just.
no. See, you're making it sound like, oh, he should have known. No, he's a scientist. He's trying to figure things out. So maybe what would happen is if he would have not had that last drink. That's right.
Stop it.
I'm just saying, had
Stop
that last
it.
drink and said, I'm going to climb in there with this. I'm going to climb in there and try. He should have thrown the baboon in there again and seen if a fly went in there.
I'm just saying a programming mistake in 2017 like that wouldn't fly.
See, what we forgot to tell you, Laura, is there'll be a series of puns that will
Very
be
punny.
sprinkled out. Yeah.
Well,
through
okay,
the-
I want to mention another. Speaking of Wes Craven, another kind of tragic love story is his film from 1982, Swamp Thing.
I love
Thing
Swamp
was a very
Thing.
comic book kind of.
Adrian Barbeau.
Yeah, it was Adrian Barbeau and Ray Wise. Ray Wise was a scientist who,
Ray Wise, the
Yeah.
greatest.
Yeah.
and he's exposed to he's in a there's an
And then you show fresh
explosion.
off the boat.
Yeah, but in this one, Ray Wise, there's an explosion. He's a bunch of chemicals in the swamp, and he turns
Turns him into a
turns
swamp
into like
creature.
a kind of plant-like monster.
Swamp Thing.
But there's kind of like this Beauty and the Beast kind of storyline.
And they made toys out of that figure
Swamp
too.
Thing, yeah.
The Swamp
but,
Thing.
But there's,
Oh,
but there's a nice
you have those?
relationship between.
I've-
Yeah.
Oh, are they meant
This
to
is another
package?
podcast.
Are they meant to package?
No, they're not.
Oh,
Because I play with my toys. But that's yet another podcast.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But it's a nice
Children.
But it's a nice relationship between Adrian Barbeau and Swamp Thing in that movie.
Well, and I would say that they have a better shot at it.
They do. It's a little more positive
Because he has the one thing with the Brundlefly is that he's constantly changing. And the ultimate
right.
thing that he changes into, no one can really have sex with. There's no
Well, actually,
unless you made
no.
a theme or I don't know.
What does he turn into? I'm sorry.
It's like
Well,
a
it's-
Well,
giant,
Jeff Gold, he
it's a
turns
hideous-
imagine like a man fly.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about
And-
the
No,
Swamp
and
Thing.
think
in
that-
Swamp Thing, what he turns into is like imagine like a man made of roots and vines.
Yeah, but still humanoid.
Humanoid.
And kind of
he
like
has
Hulk-
human eyes,
like Hulk
mouth,
Hogan,
and,
kind
yeah.
of. And if you painted him green,
Yeah.
and put kind of a few little plants around him.
But if you could get beyond that,
Like the male Ivy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
and he can use his vines, like he can manipulate his vines
Like
to
hold you.
do things. Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
right.
That's possible.
Hey.
So I'm just saying, love will find a way.
Right, that's true. That's possible.
Where
you
there's
want
a
it to.
will, there's a way.
Yeah.
Right.
The best line from that movie, and the only part I remember, is when she asks him if it's painful, and he goes, "Only when I laugh." And it's like this guy never laughs.
Because he's very, very philosophical. I think
it's very
when he's in the
tragic,
swamp,
too, yeah.
he thinks there's always beauty in the swamp if you know where to look for it, or something like
Yeah,
That's not true.
which carries over from the comic books.
that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a good one, Sean.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that.
But
James?
Laura, you had a thought about
Swamp Thing.
man versus root.
That just reminded me of an interview I saw on Ellen with Hayden Panettiere and Vladimir Kishko, where she was telling her about, like, how do you guys, because Hayden Panettiere's like
She's
this
3
big,
feet high, yeah.
and Vladimir Kishko kills guys for a living, and he's
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big guy.
Right.
Wait, Ellen asked that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Ellen-
quite
Ellen's
forward.
edgy.
I mean, that's
Ellen's very
I thought you
edgy.
just kind of dance on the show and
No,
you know,
she's quite edgy. That Ellen. And Hayden, she didn't shy away from it. She's like, where there's a will, there's a way.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean,
Now they have a child.
he's like a tree of a man, and she is.
He
Like
kills
an-
people for a living.
Yeah.
He's like a world champion boxer, killer of people.
She could live in his hair, really, couldn't she? Just.
But there was a picture on TMZ
Okay.
of him holding his baby, and he's literally like this entire baby is just in the palm of his hand.
Wow.
This is a big guy.
Wow.
That is a big guy.
Well, this is nice, you know.
Well,
so
but speaking of like where there's a will, there's a way. There's that other aspect of like genre relationships where one person is not even the same species or in the same
Hayden Panettiere, Vladimir Kishka.
the same plane of existence. I mean, one film that was, although it
I
was
can relate.
like Ghost, for example.
yes, Ghost.
which-
Ghost.
You
Yes, you know Ghost.
On one,
I know
on
Ghost.
one
Oh,
level,
Ghost.
Ghost, come on.
Demi
Demi
Moore.
Moore.
Yeah, oh my
I almost said Lovato.
She's never looked better.
but that movie, you know,
I don't
that was
know.
really a crossover movie where even though it was really a supernatural kind of horror in a way, but it really became a love story.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
movie
It's a
that
romance.
It was a romance story, and that's where I think why it was such a huge hit.
You calling it a horror story just makes it like that much more heartbreaking.
well, maybe
yeah,
you know,
it's
it's
like
Ghost
and
the
human. I
mysterious.
mean,
Yeah, I mean,
But
yeah,
it's the whole love never dies, and there's always that connection idea. But that it really hit the nerve though of audiences. I mean, it became this huge runaway hit because
Patrick Swayze.
because of the love story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love beyond
I think
death.
everybody has always like whether sometimes as extreme as death, but sometimes just life. Everyone feels a loss towards somebody, so
Right.
it's hard to not relate in any form, whether it's like friendship or love or whatnot. But when you've lost something and can't have it, or sometimes there's sometimes when you and another person both love each other, but it just can't be, and that's even in some ways more heartbreaking.
Right,
than
right.
Yeah.
But if you have it, it's so passionate. It's so passionate. There's so much love.
I promised I wasn't going to cry.
Okay.
Now it's me.
No. Do you remember the whole pottery scene? I mean, that was passionate and sexy. Do you remember that?
Famous scene.
But that's
I
before
do.
she's dead.
Yeah,
right?
that's what he's
Yeah,
dead.
well, it's
She
before.
doesn't-
He's-
she
No, that's
died.
before.
She
Sorry.
Right.
died.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I was going to say, it's funny how you bring up Ghost, Sean. I'm really surprised. Well,
I'm not saying I'm a
I
huge
could have
fan of the
sworn.
film.
I could have sworn that you guys were,
you know
I don't
what,
like Ghost.
you know what,
Human
though?
Centipede.
Okay,
Now.
okay, no,
It's a love story.
It is a love story, and it's a great love story. It's it's an Academy Award-winning movie.
Yeah, and actually, I
Whoopi
remember,
Goldberg.
I remember reading.
I've heard of her.
Yeah,
That's great. I wrote papers about her when I was little.
really?
Yeah.
You ever meet her?
No, I haven't.
She's lovely.
Is she?
Yeah, super nice.
Yeah, we're gonna
When
get
I
on the
met her.
show.
No.
We're gonna talk about Ghost.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, I got one for you. You've seen Blade Runner? The movie Blade Runner?
No.
Okay.
Oh, that's gonna be a short show.
Now, the sequel's about to come out, so it'd be a great idea for you to see the original.
It's a great
before-
movie.
good movie.
It really is like
Invite
it's
me
like
over. We'll watch it.
all right.
All
Cool.
right.
I'm trying to get the fiance. You got to make sure that she watches this. Okay.
Yeah?
He knows a lot more about this and 90s hip hop than I do. There's times where we'll be he's lovely and he likes to take me on his meetings with him. He's a music producer. He does a lot of rap and hip hop stuff.
Laura's fiance Adrian is here with us watching.
Yeah.
He's in the back.
Good guy. We like him.
Yes.
I made him come with me. I didn't want to drive.
I understand.
He's cleaning up in the background over there.
Who knows what this creep fest could have
We
been?
were looking. I would have come by myself.
All right.
But we were looking at furniture earlier
I
in the
understand.
valley, and I was like, I was going to be here very early in the valley, which is why I was late today because I thought it started early.
Just perfectly on time.
I forgot where I was going with this. He knows all the stuff. He knows all the movies.
Blade Runner?
Yeah, Blade Runner's a good one. Though.
Blade Runner, but in Blade Runner, there are these things called replicants. And replicants are basically a slave class of genetically created people.
Okay.
And
Androids.
The kind of
They're
people I like.
kind of like androids, but they're
They're organic. Though.
organic, yeah. And the Blade Runner,
More
Harrison
Apple
Ford,
and Samsung. Okay.
he's the
I'm
guy.
relating.
He's the guy who, if one of these replicants runs off and decides they don't want to be slaves anymore, he goes after them
Like,
and
terminates
kills them.
Yeah.
And so there's a group of replicants that are out and they've escaped, and it's his job to track them down. Two of them have a relationship, and that would be Roy and Pris. Roy, played by Rutger Hauer, and Pris, played by
Daryl Hannah.
Daryl Hannah. And they have 4-year lifespans. And so they escaped from slavery. They got together. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get more life. They're trying to go to their creator within the movie and get more life.
Extend
Somehow
their lifespan.
extend their lives.
I feel like you just gave me like a great thing for my life. Like I should just live every day like I only have 4 years left.
Yes.
That's right.
And that's my point.
Live
is that-
every day like you're a
I feel like
replicant.
you might have given me too much to drink, but this is like this is like that. Hearing that, I was like, oh wow, I should live my life.
Each
like
sip
that.
is another year of life.
Well,
I only want 4.
it is a movie with an existential philosophy.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that they have 4 years of life. And so their relationship, talk about the most intense relationship.
Yeah.
We only get to see little hints of what they're like together, and they're very passionate with
Very.
each other, but they're like right up against their 4-year mark.
Yeah.
And even the way that they kiss when they haven't seen each other for a while and they kiss, it's kind of awkward a little bit.
It
and,
is.
It almost like teenagers kissing.
Yeah.
And
Hot.
so hot. So hot.
Tell me more.
Well, they are 4-year-olds.
Get me a fresh
really.
teenager.
Well, no. It's not. They're not necessarily 4-year-old. They're advanced. Their minds
Well,
are.
no,
We
Come on,
get
come
it. Get
on.
to ruin this.
Yeah,
Kidding,
don't.
kidding.
Well, look, I'm trying to make this hot.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the one who said it.
They're in their 20s, but they're 4-year-olds.
But they're
okay?
but they are
Tell me how
4-year-olds.
they kiss.
And they kiss a little sloppy, but they have this. I would think that the kind of off-screen story of them is got to be the most intense, passionate relationship.
Well, there's-
because
yeah.
you know that the death is coming. I mean,
Any day.
It's like on a calendar.
Yeah.
You know that you are going to die at this point.
Yeah.
and
Well,
that's it.
There's a great the guy who created him is Tyrell, Dr. Tyrell. There's a great line where he's telling Roy, because he knows that Roy wants more life, and he says, "The light that burns twice as bright burns half as long, and you have burned so very, very brightly, Roy." And it's true, because he's just trying to live every second.
Huh? That's a little sweet, don't you think?
It's very sweet.
There's also an
It's a
interesting...
good date film.
There's an interesting romance between...
Fine, I'll watch it. Jesus.
Oh, yeah. It's a great movie. Between Harrison Ford as Deckard and Sean Young as Rachel. Because he knows that she's a replicant.
True, same idea, right?
And he does...
He is not, or
he is not,
so we
or he
think.
may
No,
or may
he's
not
not.
be.
He's not.
No.
Depending on what theory you subscribe
not.
to.
But
it's still an interesting relationship
right.
either way, because in a way he's sort of hostile toward her because she's really just an object in his eyes, and it's almost kind
Typical
of
man.
weird.
Men.
God, I just want to apologize for Deckard.
definitely sad, tragic, and romantic, and it's one of the things that makes the film so beautiful. You know, to me, is that
it's a good
the
movie.
scenes that they have together are just like it's kind of painful.
Painful. Well,
Yeah.
they're painful, but also there's a lot of heated passion. You know,
Yeah.
that whole piano, that by the piano thing.
Yeah. No.
That's
She plays one hot piano. I'm just saying.
no,
I'm
it
assuming
was.
it's like the piano scene in the Notebook. That's what I'm imagining.
It is-
Go on.
Yes.
I'm imagining that too. Yeah.
All right.
but-
But
feel-
now very I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But like along the same theme would be I would say like vampires.
course,
So the idea
absolutely.
of that you're going to date someone who has either a limited lifespan or a really really long lifespan, and how does that work? I would think at the end of the day it does not work. And that if you're a vampire and you need to make someone a vampire too if you're going to have a relationship.
You know,
with
I am
them.
so glad you brought up vampires. I really am.
That you're going to hear that a lot on this show.
I have a question.
Okay.
All right.
It just dawned on me.
Okay.
Drinking. Okay, so you always hear these stories as like they're so sad and tragic, right? You're gonna love someone who has a limited lifespan and you're gonna live forever, right? So
Right.
imagine you're the person that's living forever, right? You're gonna love somebody who has a limited lifespan.
Okay.
Tragic.
I'm with you.
Is it because you can love them for their entire life and know that you were as good to them as you could be?
Yeah.
But then you would also sort of at some point have sort of this wisdom where you know that other people will need this kind of love too, and that you can have this again, and not this again, but something different and just as deep of a love.
Well,
Are you saying that like so? Oh well, she's old and she died. Oh
No.
damn. Oh, I guess I got to move on.
No.
But you were
It's-
as happy with them as possible,
Lord,
right?
you bring up a really good point. Okay, let's say you're a vampire. You're a hot, sexy vampire. Okay, and so,
Obviously.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's say you're getting it on over here. And you go, I love...
In the kitchen?
No, in the living room.
Oh, okay.
And you say, I'm a vampire. I love my fiance. I don't want to make him a vampire because I don't want him to have that kind of life. And so, okay, your commitment, okay, we're great. But then as time progresses...
Can they make him a vampire?
No,
You can if
you
you
don't.
wanted
But
to.
you're not going to. You're not going to.
okay.
And then all of a sudden he starts to get old. But you
See, now,
stay gorgeous.
that would be the weird
now
part.
you go beautiful. You stay beautiful
Okay,
because you...
But then it was never really love, is it?
Oh, no.
Listen. A good example of that.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
A good example of that is a film from Tony Scott in 1983 called The Hunger.
Yes.
The Hunger.
Alive.
The
David
Hunger
Bowie.
was Catherine Deneuve and David Bowie. And Catherine Deneuve is this like hundreds and hundreds of years old vampire who just basically she just preys on her lovers, both male and female. And
What else is
when
new?
when she gets bored with them, she just tosses them aside. And in the film, David Bowie is her current lover, but he is starting to age.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Think of yourselves, right?
Okay.
Before you're married.
Okay.
Think of
Impossible.
before you were married. Just pretend it once happened.
Okay.
And
a parallel universe.
Click my slippers together.
was everybody here single at 20?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
You need to go a little younger there.
18.
Sure.
Okay.
You were married at 20?
No.
Oh, you had a mate.
Let's say we're all 18. We're out of high school. We're young and fresh.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, think
Sure.
of yourself at 16.
All right.
No. I want to make it legal.
Okay.
Let's say 18.
No, you're like a 16-year-old forever. Let's just say you're
Okay.
16. It's always legal. Okay, you're 16.
Okay.
I was married to my uncle at 16. But go ahead. That's fine.
It's
Okay,
not
so-
legal, but go ahead.
So you're all 16, right?
You're our guest.
Dating another hot 16-year-old, awesome. Dating a 17-year-old, 18, awesome.
Yeah.
Let's say you always get like the hot 17-year-old. Let's just say it. You're
Okay.
16, you get to date
Sure.
a slightly
This
older
is
woman.
fantasy.
No, it happened to
You're
me.
16, you can date a hot 17-year-old forever. At some point you're aging and she's goddamn still 17, still talking about the same like shit as always, and she's just so annoying and she just has no depth, and she's still 17. You want somebody who ages, who has different like
Who's wisdom
lifespan.
and-
It's at
yeah.
some point like, and I don't know if I should even ask this, but like, would you really want a 17-year-old right now? I don't even want like, I remember at like 20.
Oh, God, no.
I remember at 24
Okay.
thinking like, even just roommate wise, being like, I can't imagine, because I remember at 24 I was looking for a roommate, and one of my friends was like, oh, I have someone who's moving to LA, she's 20, and I was like, no. I don't care if she's like the dorkiest person ever, I'm not living with a goddamn 20-year-old.
Right.
Okay.
It's just like, at
No, I
some
get
point-
it.
And I think vampires also have some depth.
Okay.
So you think they
Saying
just
that's
is
the thing.
vampires are deeper than we think.
Well-
they're
But if you're 600 years old
they're
and
not like a Leonardo DiCaprio vampire where they just want the swimsuit model from 20 to 24.
Uh-huh.
But
So you
if
think they would
are-
discard and just keep
I don't
getting
think
new
that's real
people?
love.
But you bring up a really good thing, because there is even though it's not my favorite vampire movie, in the movie Interview with the Vampire, the Tom Cruise Brad Pitt film, there is a great sequence
Kristen
where
Dunst.
who is just amazing.
Right,
And
right.
here you have this amazing situation where these vampires, they kind of have rules. The rules are, look, if we're going to make someone the vampire, we're going to try to have them, where they're going to be adults. And the solution for the Tom Cruise character, Lestat, says, the Brad Pitt character, what you need is someone to take care of. And so there's a little girl who's dying from the plague, and that's Kristen Dunst. And so what happens is Lestat makes her into a vampire, but she's got the body of like a 7 or 8-year-old. Now, she's made into a vampire at that moment, and she has the mind of a 7 or 8-year-old. But as time progresses, year after year after year, over 20 years, 30 years, she has the mind now of a grown woman, but she still has the body of a child. And
Which reminds me of a Maury episode.
I
but
see.
but if you're an 8-year-old and
Or
you're
trapped in an 8-year-old
or
body.
trapped in an 8-year-old
But you got the
body,
wisdom of
Well,
like
do you-
my life.
No,
I don't want to
no,
offend you. I'm going to say 9 though.
No. No.
But if you're trapped in that body, then do you never go through any kind of, I don't know, puberty or coming of age?
No, you don't. You are
Yeah,
no,
and that's got to be
Matt,
a nightmare.
there's
right?
the rule.
Like you're
The-
stuck
You don't know what you don't know.
No, that's not the rule.
No, wait,
that's not the rule.
That's an interesting idea.
You are making stuff up.
No. You don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know. This is your life.
No, that's the sacrifice you make as a vampire.
Okay, but think of all the guys who get older or whatever, but never develop like a full beard. Think of all the women who don't get to be at least 5'4" tall. You're still an adult.
No. Yes, but in the world of
Believe it or
vampires,
not, you're still an adult.
if you are made a vampire, no, don't look at him. Look at me. If you are made a vampire,
I'm not 5'4" is what I'm saying.
okay, and that's fine. That's fine. But if you are made a vampire, whatever image you are at that point when you are made a vampire, you are stuck with that. You've got that for the rest of your eternal
I've been
life.
this height since I was 12. Like I'm stuck with this height. I'm
Oh my
still a
God,
grown up.
she came here at night.
Are you a vampire?
What I'm trying to say today on Monster Party is that I am a vampire.
It's a scope.
right
You
here.
heard it here, folks.
That's why she never films in the daytime. You do those voiceovers?
Yeah, I do the voiceovers in the dark.
The name of your autobiography.
Look.
I do the voiceovers in the dark.
Look, I'm going to go out on a limb here, okay? I know the guys are going to jump all over me on this, but, it is kind of a bit of a guilty pleasure.
Are we still sticking with vampires?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, I am. Do you know where I'm going?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most famous. It's very big with the kids. now.
Dracula?
No.
Oh, I know.
Oh, okay, all right.
From 2008, I'm talking about the whole Twilight. The Twilight Saga.
Yeah.
And for anyone to jump on me and
I
go,
auditioned for that.
oh,
There you go. Vampire?
I may have not seen it, but
Well,
I did.
don't feel bad.
In all honesty, I was too poor to have cable or go to movies. When I moved to LA for the first 5 years, even after I did the Wes Craven movie, I know people who aren't from LA think that if you do a movie, you're like
Right,
rich
that's
as
it,
shit,
right?
you know?
Yeah.
You're a millionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a billionaire.
Yeah.
Made it.
yeah,
Not.
right.
But I couldn't afford cable for 10 years. I didn't have anything. But I remember one time I was cleaning out a bunch of stuff, moving, and I remember seeing my Twilight sides. And I auditioned for the same thing that Anna Kendrick got, which she's amazing and she's great. But I was like, oh, how cool! I was in the running.
Well, it's
maybe.
I know how these
Maybe
guys
not.
feel. They're not really big fans. And I just want to say, it's for me who likes rules with certain monsters, there are issues that I have. I totally get, it irritates me that if vampires...
Rules just with monsters? You have rules, my friend.
Okay, look, listen. I mean, they try to bend the rules a little bit by saying, okay, look, so vampires, you can only go out at night. Well, here, up in the state of Washington, or, it's really cloudy all the time, and vampires can actually go out at that time. And so I kind of had issues with that. But I can't deny the fact that it is hugely popular, hugely successful. They went on to make
It's kind of like
movies.
teenager for preteen kind of audience.
Yes, and there's that teenage angst thing. And look. I mean, if you want to see, it's about Bella Swan, who's this gal who, with her dad, they move up north, and because her mom lives down in Florida or something, and so she's a new kid in high school, and she kind of befrients some kids
This
and say,
takes place in Florida.
No. I think the mom
okay.
lives in Florida.
The worst place to be a vampire.
No. But
Sunshine
stupid?
State.
slowly but surely, I mean, she sees that there are these kind of coolish kids. It's those are you don't want to hang out with those beautiful kids over there. And so what happens is she kind of gets paired up with the vampire kid, and that's Edward Cullen, played by Robert Pattinson, who actually did Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. He was really great in that. But anyway, he, young, cool, attractive-looking guy,
Robert Pattinson was in Harry Potter.
Yeah, the Goblet of Fire. And he plays Cedric
The
Diggory.
sexiest.
No. He plays Cedric
the
Diggory, and he is
sexiest
great.
movie.
And we're gonna have a Harry Potter episode eventually, okay? And we'll talk about that.
With Rupert Grint.
Did
Yes,
you?
that's
Did
right.
you?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, I
gosh!
saw that.
Pilot with him,
He plays Ron Weasley.
Yeah.
Is he a nice guy?
The nicest human
Yeah.
I've ever met in my life.
Oh, we got to get him on the show.
He exudes niceness.
He's so
Busy, I know.
nice. No, he's just nice, just so nice, and I love to mess around with people.
Was he one of those people that so nice that he was like,
I want to punch him in the face. No, he's so
All right.
sweet.
All right. So
And even makeup. I remember going to makeup and we were kind of talking about him. And they're like, oh yeah, he was just here. He's so nice. And I'm like, he's so nice. And I'm like, I just never met someone so nice.
All right,
Just
so we
like-
get he's nice.
that
All
could
right.
go any way in life. You know what I mean? He could be so nice.
Right.
good thing. He's just really nice. So
Especially
then we
in-
started like wondering how any one of us could make him mad.
Well,
Or like annoyed, and he
tempted
just
to, like-
wasn't.
a guy like that, you never know. He could have a kill room. You never know.
I hope he does.
Yeah, I know.
No,
You're like,
no,
oh,
come
I
on,
get
no,
you.
no, no, no,
I
no,
get you
no,
now.
come on, no. But getting back to Twilight, so
He's so
Must
sweet. I
we?
never said anything about him. He's
well,
so nice.
look, all I want to say,
You've
for you-
already described the movie, which is more than we should have done.
No.
Young kids know this, and old people don't give a fuck.
Okay, listen. No, all I want to say is there is passion. There's steamy passion,
Well, yeah,
and to the
it's-
point,
yeah,
to the
there's-
point,
there's
sir.
vampire
No, I'm
romance.
talking to him.
Passion?
Yeah,
Kristen Stewart. How could there be passion?
There's passion.
Ooh,
There's
snap.
gosh, Matt. There is passion in it to the point where they have to make a choice. And I don't want to give away the choice because
please don't.
No,
Whether to do the sequel?
no. But there's a choice about whether or not to keep your love to turn someone into a vampire or not. So, but look, all I just wanted to say is there's a lot of love and heated passion in the Twilight Saga.
In a PG-13 kind of way.
And look, I know, Matt, it's not your cup of tea. I get it, and there are some. I do have issues with it, but it is very big. It's very popular.
I watched True Blood, which is not that far
Right,
Yeah.
it's
away.
Great.
Yeah, but
she says it's great.
No,
I saw the first 3 seasons, then I couldn't afford it anymore.
and that was the perfect place to jump off
Exactly.
because it talk about a train wreck
But
by
okay,
the end.
seeing, at least being in LA for the past 10, 11 years, do you ever feel like maybe when you were 17, 18, you did have all the answers?
Of course.
And now everything just got jumbled?
Well, if not all the answers, no cares.
All
no
of them.
cares. No
I had
worries
all
or
the answers
cares.
when I was 17. I should have
Wow.
I should have written a book then.
No.
Now I'm like, I don't know.
I think I've come full circle, which is like I kind of thought I had all the answers, and then I clearly did not.
Yeah.
And then now I don't really have the answers, but I don't care anymore. So
It's so funny. One of the things that like my fiance and I like have bonded about, because we're like, you think if we would have met earlier in life, like it probably wouldn't have worked, and we're both like, nah, we've always been like this. Like we haven't gotten better or worse. We've always been pretty cool.
Okay. Well,
We've always known who we were.
Well, speaking of pretty cool, I mean, I know that Sean, myself, and Laura, and Matt, we've all talked about some. James, I'd like to know about one of your favorite
yes, James.
love relationship films. You've been awfully quiet over here.
Okay.
Yeah, not James Gunn. But I thought that's what you were to introduce yourself as this one, because it
Close.
starts like as James
Gun.
Who does he look like?
Who do I
James
look
Gunn.
like?
No. Who
No.
does
No.
seriously? Who does he look like?
I don't know.
This might be before her
his
time.
dad.
Oh,
Do you like Greeks? You like Greeks, right?
Look, we're not trying to. We're
Because I know Sean doesn't like
not.
Greeks.
We're not doing that
Don't
kind
like
of show.
Greeks?
I don't
No.
like Greek food, to be honest.
Oh, I love Greek
I'm
food.
sorry, I don't.
I don't-
The feta cheese.
Don't like Greek food?
No,
You don't
honestly.
like feta cheese.
I love rice. I love chicken. I don't like Greek rice and chicken. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What about
my
like too
best
much
friend
dill?
is
Too much dill,
Dono.
maybe.
He's
What's with the
Greek.
grape
He's so
leaves?
handsome.
I never understood
I
that.
like the grape
They're not
leaves.
good.
Oh, they're
No.
horrible.
Oh, I beg
I
to differ.
love
What are you?
97% of the food in the world.
No. There's a lot of food in Greece, my dear. Yes.
No. Greek
about-
food.
what
is
about-
the percentage
what's that
exactly?
What's that Greek fast food place that's around?
Gricos.
What about fried calamari?
James's.
You like fried
I
calamari?
like calamari, but,
Oh, I hate-
but then it's
that's
like, what
Greek?
else is?
Yeah, well, yeah, they do it really good.
I mean, Italian also.
Yeah. Hello.
I
Yeah,
could get
yeah.
that and pasta.
Yeah.
A nice bucatini.
Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
black,
I got to slog
black
through
olives?
Greece to get to
I
Italy.
do like. See, that's
I
the
love
thing.
black olives.
I like their ingredients. I don't like how they put them
Oh, okay.
together.
Okay. So
Well,
you like
look,
the
look,
combination.
look.
You
This
don't
is
like
not.
the
This
We're
is
losing all our Greek listeners.
Look. This is not.
Hey, put some rice
both
in
of
there.
them.
Look, okay,
Put
listen.
some salt in your rice.
Look, this is not James's fault, okay? But getting
I
back
blame
to
James for
Wait.
all the
I
Greek
want
food.
to
Doesn't
go
he
to
look-
the islands.
Doesn't he look like Oliver Stone?
I don't know what Oliver
But
Stone.
Oh, see, you're right.
There
You're
you
right.
go.
all right. So
Right.
now that we've taken a lot of time, James, you have the
90s.
floor. Tell us.
Greek romances.
No.
horror and sci-fi.
Well, Clash of the
Anything
Titans.
after 94.
Oh! That's
We'll get there.
No.
Are you not okay?
I wasn't going to go there.
Okay,
Yeah,
you
go.
tell us.
What do you got?
Well, to stay on the subject of vampires for just another moment, I was thinking about this. Of all the classic Universal Monsters movies, the one that includes
Before the 90s.
yeah, it goes back.
I didn't speak English.
A romantic relationship, which and this is intrinsic in all vampire movies, is that you've got the immortality and usually the vampirism comes between a couple, But in Son of Dracula, 1943, I saw it a couple of times when I was younger, and I remember both times being particularly affected by this because you've got the central relationship between a couple where she willingly becomes a victim of Count Alucard, Lon Chaney Jr., in order to gain immortality. And meanwhile, her partner, he's the hero, but he's also sort of the unwitting, love interest. And she offers him immortality, but he cannot accept it. And it eventually, spoiler, has to kill her.
Spoiler.
And he kills the vampire Dracula as well. And
Thanks, James.
He said spoiler.
I know.
all I'm saying is that the entire thing is executed really, really well. It's
like a tragic triangle.
It's a tragic triangle. It's much better than your average Universal programmer that was made at the time, like The Mummy's Hand or whatever the shit was with Lon Chaney Jr. This is a much better movie. And when I was thinking about this, I thought, okay, what Universal monster movie really plays up the romantic angle better than any other one? And I would say it's that one, Son of Dracula.
Well, I would say, though, along those lines, though, Bride of Frankenstein plays upon the idea of loneliness and trying to find that partner in life.
I'm glad you brought that up.
You have the Frankenstein monster who is, a total outsider. Everybody is terrified of him, and then he wants Dr. Frankenstein to build him, make him a woman.
Do you know this basic story?
I mean, it's
Bride of Frankenstein.
Bride of
Perhaps you've
Frankenstein.
heard of that.
Shaking my head.
Frankenstein monster built from parts of dead bodies.
I was honestly just being like, wow, you have a second floor to your house. That's so great.
I'm doing very well, Laura.
I was actually just like being like,
Oh, yeah.
I know I saw stairs when I came in, but like I just realized that there's stairs.
Yeah,
here.
we have a whole nother level. I have a washer and dryer.
Stop it.
Yes.
To anybody listening, that is goddamn fancy in LA.
Yes. Oh, I know. Oh, yeah. We have a pool that we have access to.
I've always thought of Matt as being very, very classy and
I will say we have a pool on a rooftop, but I don't have a second floor. And I don't know many people that do.
Wow.
Well, look, you should take my seminar because I can show you how to get to the level of riches that I have in the business.
There's at least 7 steps that I counted. When
Yeah.
you guys are talking about something else.
There are 6 more levels to this place.
I'm going to believe it.
Yeah, but they
Yeah.
go down.
yeah.
Yeah, very Lovecraftian.
Now, but this is great, But getting back to
Let's get back
love,
to
yeah,
love.
get back to love, and I just wanted to get to your thing
Yes.
because
I
thought about this, Sean, because I didn't put it on my list because he wants this. The monster wants this.
He wants a mate.
He wants a mate, and a mate is created.
Creature made from body parts. It now is alive, lonely. He demands a mate through a series of circumstances.
Someone
Frankenstein.
He gets
Bride of Frankenstein.
he gets
Yes.
he gets a
Someone like
mate.
him.
He gets the mate, but, and there's a big but.
And it's
Wow.
a,
She doesn't have a big butt. It's just a big butt. in
The thing is,
story.
Later.
Dr. Frankenstein and Dr. Pretorius, they can create a mate for him, but they can't necessarily make her mind to love him, love
and
the monster.
Or heart.
There's a heart rendering moment where like he's like friend. He's like patting her hand. She finally gets a
They're
good look at him.
They're forced to sit
and
together.
she just belts out this scream, like,
Blood
oh my God.
curdling.
And
he's not exactly the most handsome.
And she turned, and he's just like you can see in Carlos' face. It's just so he's so hurt. And then she looks at
Dr.
Dr.
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. She wants to be
Colin
Dr.
Clive.
Frankenstein.
He's a
it's like-
good-looking guy.
So it's like automatically the doctor's accidentally kind of created this triangle himself now because he created this mate for his creation, but then she kind of goes for him.
Couldn't you say though that Colin Clive, Dr. Frankenstein, is actually the father figure, really,
the
more
paternal-
than
But
the
I think she's
boyfriend?
looking at you don't know how the way really
Well,
she's
let's talk
looking
about
at
this.
it.
There's like a Frankenstein head right behind you.
Uh,
Well,
Frankenstein-esque.
Okay, I lied.
that is from The Thing, from the 1950s. Howard Hawks' production of The Thing. You've seen the John Carpenter one?
Great face. So much detail in the face.
But
we'll take some pictures of
but
that.
it is kind of Frankenstein
Frankensteinish.
monster-esque. But
Yeah, well,
And that
it's
monster
green,
is
it's
very
got-
much
yeah,
Frankenstein.
and if you haven't seen it, in a way, Sean, would you say if someone says, "Oh, I'm going to watch one of these classic old monster films," do I have to see Frankenstein first before Bride of Frankenstein? Do you feel that someone could just see Bride of Frankenstein without going to the first one?
I would kind of still want to see the original Frankenstein because Bride in some ways, Brides might be a better film, but it's also a little bit more comedic in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to start with the first one. You have to
I think
see
you
how
need
the monster,
Frankenstein.
Yeah, see how the
And that would be a
monster's
great
created.
one for
You and the fiancé.
Yeah,
That's a good-
because those are really good movies.
When you're having your vampire
Frankenstein.
moment,
Or like
do you-
a Valentine's
little popcorn,
Day,
Valentine's
double
Day,
feature.
yeah.
But here's my thing with that is that, okay, so now Dr. Frankenstein creates this woman and he expects, I don't know what he expects, but that they're going to just get together. And how can that happen? Like she's been alive for maybe an hour.
If that.
Not
if
even,
that.
yeah.
And now you're supposed to date?
That's right. There's no...
Somebody in this situation needed to have the dating talk
Yeah.
with dad.
Flower
you know?
or flowers or something.
Romance.
Right? Don't you need at least, especially with Frankenstein's monster, to go, look, okay, she was born a half hour ago. Go slow. Go, maybe a walk somewhere.
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
the
he was a
dungeon.
little, he was a
I
little
know what
anxious.
life is about.
Yeah.
But I would
For
say
you?
that it's sad. That is it's a film where it's tragic, and the love that he desires, he wants so badly, just isn't there.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
And it hurts my
Because he's
feelings.
misunderstood.
Yeah.
Well, it's like not even being able to like find your mate. Whereas a few years earlier, the original Mummy, which is Karloff trying to find his, a reincarnation of the princess that he loved
Yeah.
at the time.
Right.
That was also has this kind of romantic thing where he is trying to, this current day, modern day woman is the subject of his affections because, he sees her as the reincarnation of the Egyptian
Well,
princess.
and in the original Mummy movie, the story is that he has this princess who dies,
Yeah.
and he goes against all the rules of his
right.
religion
For
and
love.
everything. Blasphemy through love tries to bring this woman back to life and gets caught,
and cursed.
and they curse him.
Yeah.
Bury him alive.
Yeah.
all for love.
Maybe
All
the
for
most
love.
romantic monster.
Are we all excited
Yeah.
for the new Mummy movie, or is it just me?
I don't know.
I've heard it's terrible, but I want to see it. I can't wait.
I would love it to be good.
We're
like,
talking about the Tom Cruise.
Yes.
I want it to be
Mummy.
good, but I just am worried that it's not going to be very good. I do.
I've heard it's terrible.
Yeah,
I can't
word
wait
of
to
mouth.
see
Word of
it.
mouth is bad. Yeah,
But you know what? I may give it a shot. I'm gonna go check it out because I like
I
like
think he's
mummy
gotten
stuff.
such a bad rap because of
Tom Cruise?
yeah.
Or the mummy.
Cruise.
you know what?
Tom Cruise is kind of bad rap because of the things he's into and his personal life, and it might be truly bad. It might.
I just don't know
be,
if he's the right
but
fit for the movie.
I do. You know what though?
I wanna
I don't know how you feel about him, but I love him
Oh, I
in
think
almost
he's-
everything.
I like him too.
I really do. Like I enjoy his Tom Cruise thing when it's right.
What's funny is you bring up something. I don't know how this film is laid out, but with the preview, there's a lot of Tom in it. At least when you looked at the Brendan Fraser mummies that I really enjoyed. I know these guys, they're not big fans, but there was a
Okay.
sense of fun.
Yeah,
there was like
especially the
fun,
first one I enjoyed,
excitement,
yeah.
and I had a lot of fun. There were scares and there were cool things in it.
I like the first one more.
And
than,
it moved along. This one I don't know, but I'll have to check that
But
out.
speaking of like horror romance, I mean, all I know from the trailer though is it's a female mummy, and it looks like the female
Right.
mummy is after
Lea
Tom Cruise.
Michele? Who's the mummy?
Actually, I think the mummy in the new film is Sophia Boutella.
oh, she's good.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have no
From,
idea.
She- no.
She looks like Lea Michele, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's from, but Sophia's from The Kingsman and Star Trek Beyond. But I think the idea is that the female mummy is after Tom Cruise for some reason.
Because he's so handsome.
Yeah,
even though
so
it's
there's a
crazy,
romance-
he's
Let her
really
catch you.
yeah. So, but who knows? We'll see
Who
if
knows?
it-
So I'll have to check that out, and we'll probably do a mummy episode.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. We'll have you back for that.
Well, go watch The Mummy, and then
Yeah.
right after we'll talk about it.
yeah.
All right.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well,
There'll
since
be a lot of quiet moments.
well, okay.
It'll
So,
allow our listeners to rest.
Okay,
Can
so
we do it at
Contemplate.
it's either Birds or Sushi Stop right across the Celebrity Scientology Center?
so moving on. Okay.
Yeah.
So
We
we
all
talked
need-
about the
we all
mummy.
need fake names.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you talked about there's some passion there. I want to talk about some television passion. The television passion. There is passion there, but if it's monster related, how about the Addams Family? And you
a good
have
one.
a very
That is a good one.
Think
Yeah.
about it. You have
Adam's Family aware of it?
Gomez
Christina
Ad-
Ricci?
Yes. Yeah. Sure. That works.
Okay, no, it's funny you should bring that up. Okay, because there's two different things here. One, there's the TV show from 1964. That's
Don't
with
know it.
Gomez
Actually, very
Addams.
funny.
That's John Aston. And Morticia is played by
Carolyn Jones.
Carolyn Jones. And they do have some fun romantic things where there's the kissing on the arm. But I think Where the real passion comes in is from the Addams Family movies from 1991 with Raul Julia and Angelica Houston. I mean, because their passion in that movie is really, really passionate. I mean, they do the whole dance. And
I think the difference between those two is that in the 60s television show, I always felt that Morticia was playing a little too hard to get most of the time.
Yes.
Whereas in the movies, I think they've worked it out.
Also, it was 60s TV, so they could only do so much.
And in fairness, I see where Sean's going. I think that's true. But I love how Raul Julia he is like really passionate, and she just lets him, have his way.
They were like these kind of
passion,
creepy, eccentric characters that you really do felt were a sexually active couple.
Yes,
it's like,
so are we in agreement here?
Yeah, in the movies, she was
much like my wife and I's relationship.
Yes.
Unlike Herman Munster and Lily Munster, who were kind of like, they were married, but it was more like the Fred Flintstone and Wilma.
Right.
See, actually, that's kind of how I see you, Matt. Is that
Yes, we are. We're the Addams Family.
No, Munsters.
The Munsters.
Yeah,
Why?
I see you more.
I'm Herman?
Well, I kind of see, you're a little goofy.
Yeah, that's wow.
Which is kind of the best type of relationship.
All right, sure.
And your wife has been called by some people like the Lily Munster, because she's beautiful.
She has?
Yes,
Really?
Don't you remember?
I
Bobby
don't-
Slayton. Bobby Slayton mentioned that. Don't you remember?
Really?
Yeah, okay.
Oh, we don't
right.
remember that. Oh, I
look,
see.
hey, look,
Some people listen to our shows.
All of this I'm going to take as a compliment. And yes, I do believe that my wife and I have a lot of passion,
You have
and
a
we're
second
creepy.
floor to this house.
What happens on the second floor?
the North Wing.
Yeah.
All right, so I just brought up one. How about you? Throw it in your corner.
Well,
Herman.
well, I kind of go for dysfunctional relationships.
Sure.
Really?
Yes. And I want to bring up one
That
right
doesn't
now.
Teen Mom OG.
The one I'm thinking of comes from the movie The Stepford Wives. Are you familiar with this?
Laura.
Stepford Wives.
Maybe-ish.
You would.
A couple goes to a town called Stepford, and this woman who's very independent, and this is the 70s, and she's this career-oriented woman, and her husband found this great place in Stepford, and they move with the kids and everybody
Suburban Connecticut.
to this suburban area, and she starts to notice that all the wives in this town are almost like these sort of men's fantasy caricatures.
Kind of vapid,
Yeah.
All about taking care of the house, sexual dynamos.
Taking care of their men.
And it just doesn't make any sense. And so what you find out is that the men in this neighborhood are creating their own wives and having their other wives offed and replacing them with these android perfect women.
Now we're talking about the classic.
The classic.
Like,
I don't recognize any other one.
Well, there is one with Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, I'm talking about 1975.
Yeah, that's the one,
That's
Matt.
the one I'm talking about.
That's what you want to see.
And so, it's Catherine Ross plays Joanna Eberhardt. And her husband, Walter Eberhardt, he's the guy who moves them up there, and he gets involved with this men's group there.
Men's club,
and
yeah.
they're the people that are all, of course, behind creating these androids. And the thing that gets me about that relationship is that they seem, in the beginning of the movie, they actually seem like they're really in love. They seem like a honestly in love
Very
couple.
real.
Yeah.
Very real. And then as the whole android thing progresses, you start to get hints of what's going on. And he goes along with it. He ends up going, all right, let's get my replacement wife.
That's the creepiest
And
thing
it's the
about it.
creepiest thing ever.
Yeah.
And that's what gets me about that relationship, is that how do you go from loving your wife who, she's independent, she has her own opinions, and sometimes you're going to get into arguments, to this other version, which is like not even a person, really. It's just this person that just cleans up your house, has sex with you, and that's it.
But also, they don't talk back, They
don't talk back.
And they will always love you, even if you get the pot belly, even if you get old, they'll still be there.
And
be
they have enhanced breasts.
They have enhanced bodies and...
enhanced,
Yeah, enhanced.
Go on.
No, it's just, enhanced.
Wow. Only you can create an awkward moment that doesn't have to be there.
But I think that was also a time of the 70s where it was like, the women's lib, and it was an answer to that.
Right.
It was like, this is
Yeah.
Were there enhanced obviously, okay, this is a stupid question. Before I even asked it, I was like, that's stupid. I was like, were there enhanced bodies in the 70s?
Oh, yeah.
Well, not as much, but for the purposes of the story, to create like the quote unquote perfect housewife who was artificial.
Yeah, it was more.
There were enhanced breasts in the 70s.
There were.
There were, but it wasn't as prevalent as it was later on.
It wasn't
We
early-
do live in L.A. Let's just
yeah,
say
yeah,
so. We have a slightly skewed view
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
you
They're
know
all
that.
amazing.
But Matt,
All shapes and sizes.
I will see your Stepford Wives. and I-
Enhanced or not.
Yeah.
James.
I agree.
I will raise you.
Oh, James has got one.
Guy Woodhouse and Rosemary's Baby that was on my list.
It's on my list
that's a good one, too.
It's on my list too.
You want to talk about the worst husband in horror history?
That's
or,
true.
Or the best triangle,
Well,
you
there's
lovers
that.
triangle.
Oh, no.
What's the Grace? There's a movie called Grace. I think it was a
Grace, yeah, with the baby, about the baby.
Yeah, great movie. Never want to see it again.
No, it's pretty. That is a pretty.
That is a pretty twisted.
Yeah,
movie.
that's
yeah.
rough going.
It is a beautiful movie. I remember watching it being like, this is so beautiful. It's everything I want about a horror movie. And I'll be honest, I don't love all horror movies.
Well, we don't love all of them.
But for me, a movie, as long as it's good, I like it. No matter the genre.
Sure.
So I don't love all gore movies. I don't love all horror movies, but I love all good movies.
Sure.
And I remember Grace being such a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
But dark
but
and
also
disturbing,
a movie
though.
that I'd never want to see again. Like I'd never felt like I never want to be a mom in my life.
So,
And that's
Laura-
all I've ever wanted
Or
in my
for
life.
some of us who haven't seen it, can you tell us basically the
Give
gist of
the
it?
premise of that movie.
So the movie is spoilers.
Oh, can you
No, that's okay. That's
No,
okay.
no,
Drink.
spoil away.
Go.
Spoil away.
So spoilers, basically, woman has baby is stillborn. She loves it to life, and then it wants to feed on her blood and then other blood, and she ends up having to kill a lot of people to
Right.
keep this baby alive. And the entire time, for the first time ever, and this is from a girl who, although like my views have changed a lot and whatnot, but when I was like 14, I remember making a speech and I was assigned like abortion for my like 9th grade speech project. And so I did
Wow.
one like
God.
against abortion. And while watching this movie, I was like, abort the goddamn baby. There are way too many lives at stake. Like, just stop it. It's a movie that I was like, this is so beautiful, and I never want to see this again. I've never wanted to murder a baby more.
Yeah. What's interesting though is that
Paul
that it's
Solid. God damn it. I got
What's
it. I
it?
got it.
What is
Paul
it?
Solid.
Paul Solid
Solid.
wrote and directed it. Right.
got it.
Handsome dude.
Yeah.
But are you recommending it or not recommending it?
Both.
No, I would recommend
Do
it.
you want to have a baby? Don't watch
but also
it. Do
it's-
you not want
yeah.
to have a baby?
It's also got some really twisted other characters in it, too, like the mother-in-law who like wants to take the baby.
It's such a
it's-
beautiful movie. It is so well done. It is so good. You should watch it once, but also know that at the end of it, you're not going to feel good.
Well, yeah, we're a salty bunch here, so
Yeah.
who knows?
right.
What I do love about that story is that it reminds me of Death Dream a little bit, and the idea that
Yes.
there's this woman who has this dead child, and she basically wills it back to life. But
But he's not the same.
yeah, and at the
As
minute.
you could, as the love of a mother.
Yeah, but
Right.
there's something even dark about the way that she wills it. It's almost like she's conjuring something. And yeah, this baby is bad news.
There's also hints of that in The Omen, in the original 1976 The Omen, because you've got a couple of...
Well, yeah, that you have a child that you find out is like Satan's child,
Right.
or
but there's also a couple of miscarriages in that movie, and
True,
yeah.
true.
Can Satan miscarriage?
Imagine how
Can-
like
can I-
terrible that is as a woman. Like as like a viewer, like that's got to be like, I'll go with the story, but it's like as a woman, that's going to be so.
Well, it was born of a jackal, so you know.
Well, but the difference is, and you brought up Rosemary's Baby.
That's
James.
I wanted to get back
Yeah,
to
yes,
Rosemary's
yeah,
Baby
and-
because I'd like you to finish your
Yeah.
thought.
What-
because
and
the Omen, it's a switched baby.
Yeah, it's
Right.
a switch baby.
I was up against the Omen for creepiest child when I did The Hills Have Eyes.
No.
Fun
Really?
fact, yeah.
Oh, nice.
And I remember thinking, like, during the award show, being like, I hope I don't win. My legs have got numb. But I remember, like, where they sat me, I was like, I'm sitting pretty close to the front.
And then you win.
I don't win the Omen kid, but I
Damien
remember,
wins?
Yeah, Damien won. Well, he was so cute, but creepy. And then he won, and I was, in a way, I was like, oh my God, thank God. Like, poor kid, he's going to be so awkward. I was awkward.
And did he come up and just perfect diction and like,
Yeah.
I'd like to think.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
He was like 8 years old. I was 18. I had a feeling he would win, but I remember being like, oh, thank God, he can be awkward and cute. I can't.
There's nothing that used to annoy me more than like these little kid actors who are just way more savvy than I will ever be in this business.
But the odds are always
they're
stacked.
so cute.
Damien's always going to win because the judges are going to see like the Rottweilers with the eyes in close up. They're going to hear the music and they're going to vote for Damien.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotional cues there.
Hey, he's the
blood on
spawn
the
of
line.
Satan, okay?
Yeah.
Now, I just, speaking of spawn of Satan, I just want to get back to Rosemary's
Yes,
Baby.
I want to hear this too.
Yeah, go ahead, man. You've got the floor.
Another Ira Levin story, just like Stepford Wives.
Right.
And you've got, Mia Farrow and John Cassavetes, newlyweds moving into this apartment in New York. And it's a study of paranoia that surrounds Mia Farrow as she's giving birth to the spawn of Satan. But then only in hindsight, toward the end of the movie, do you really realize that there was a pivotal scene early on where John Cassavetes somehow gets seduced sort of by this coven of witches.
Well, wait, there's a scene where he's kind of talking with Sidney Blackmer.
Yes.
You just see it briefly for a second, like this,
Briefly.
because he's a struggling actor,
Right.
and it's like
So Mia Farrow's
he's-
husband in the
he's not
movie.
doing that well. He's not getting the parts. The parts are going to other people, and he's like, but Sidney Blackmer has these kind of connections and has this kind of pull.
So if his wife will give birth to the spawn of the devil,
So imagine like if you want a part so badly that you,
Yeah.
you allow your spouse to have
I would
the,
do
the
it.
devil to
what did Bruce have you sign?
Adrian, impregnate that woman. I need the fucking part.
Hear that, fiance? Wow.
All right,
Think of all the homes we could buy in Airbnb.
Satan, I just want to know, how many seasons is this going to run? Because I'm going to need like a 12 at least.
But that's
is-
sort of the
yeah.
linchpin of that story because
Sure.
Jesus,
Well, he
what kind
allows
of a
her to be
fucking
drugged
husband
and,
are you?
like, yeah, right. I mean,
it's
it's
like how
right.
ambitious are you,
But
dude?
he's such
That's
a
horrible.
Yeah, that's horrible.
He's such a cowardly creep, and when you find out is he's
But
so
now we're
awful.
forgetting, though, that the real father in this thing is Satan.
Yeah.
It's
And
Satan.
at some point, isn't Satan going to show up and go like,
Yeah.
"Hey, can I talk to my kid?"
No.
Can we?
Because Satan has no feelings.
I don't. Does he have no feelings, or does he have too many feelings? He had so many feelings that he rebelled against God.
He did.
No,
True.
Satan.
Yeah, I
only
just
has
blew your
feelings
mind.
For himself.
Maybe just like Sunday custody.
No, God, I listen to so much Christian radio sometimes too. I choose to believe Satan has no feelings. He only cares about himself and his own agenda.
So absentee father.
Satan is, right?
Yeah.
True, yeah.
Well, also, I even feel like
Does he send a birthday present?
I even feel about like the absentee father, like, because I feel like the absentee father like cares, that maybe feels ashamed, but Satan just only cares about himself.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So to anybody out there with an absentee father,
Well,
he cares.
Well, there's actually a book called
the
Good.
child.
There's a book
My
called.
father is in the picture, by the way. I love him.
If there's anything you'd
I
like to
don't
say
relate
about
to
your
you.
father at this point,
I don't relate to any of you. I just care.
Dad, if you're listening,
but there's
One, my dad is not listening. Two, my dad cares.
oh, he's listening, right? This has got to be his favorite
He
podcast.
doesn't speak English.
Yeah, but just
No,
the
he-
tones.
we're
tones.
big. We're big in Bogota.
We are. Yes, we
all right.
are.
All right, this is great.
There's a movie I did that I wasn't 100% proud of. I moved here and looked very young, so I was
Not as young as
working a
Damien.
So I was working a whole lot, and I was anything that came up. I was working on it, and there was one movie that I was like not particularly proud of, and that is the one movie that went out to Colombia, and all my family has seen. They're like, we saw the scene where you were being not a great human, and that's out
What's
of
the movie?
anything, and out of anything that I've ever done, they're like, that's the one we saw. We were just flipping through a channel, saw it, and I'm like, why that one? Out of everything I've done,
What's the movie?
I'm not saying.
You could have told your family to listen to like fish hooks, you know? Or you could have.
No, it's funny because not to get too personal here, but the one time that like my mom and I sort of got into an argument was I did this TV show. It's a thing, whatever. I found it here. You can watch it here because she always likes to see it. And she called me and she's like, why are you always like the mean person? I was like, it's really goddamn hard to get work here. And the last thing I need is for you to tell me that what I'm doing isn't good enough. So you are not allowed to look at my work or tell me what I'm doing with my work anymore. And that was sort of like getting an adult telling my mom what to do. And that was sort of the, just I think with anything in LA, sort of I was like, this is what I'm getting work at, please. Like, I don't need to get it from anyone else.
It's hard.
Did you show them Guardians of the Galaxy, like tortured alien girl, and go,
God,
look,
Mom,
happy now?
I love James Gunn, who's the writer, creator. Everything. He's such a amazing, just like human being. I met him maybe like I did The Hills Have Eyes 12 years ago, so I met him maybe like 10 years ago, I want to say. He's always just been such a warm presence and energy to be around. When he asked me to be in it, and I didn't know what it was, I actually thought that maybe he was asking me to be in his, I don't know if you've seen his series PG Porn.
No.
It's everything you love about porn except the sex.
Interesting.
So I thought that's what he was asking me to be on, and I got an email from his assistant being like, hey, James wants you to be in this thing. I don't know what it is, but I was like, oh, wow, he wants me to be in this thing in like the Disney lot. I didn't know he was filming.
Yeah, would you rather be in one of the biggest movies of all time?
I didn't know for a long time, actually, to be honest. So for him to have sort of chosen me to do like a little cameo, like all his other friends that I know are very close to him, it was.
You're great. I remember that scene very vividly.
It's just like it was such a. It's more like a testament to what he thinks of me as a person, which makes me. At least I think that's how I perceived it. Was like, wow, he thinks nice things of me, and I truly feel nice things about him.
He seems like a great guy.
He just is.
I would think that you'd have to be to get that kind of ensemble together and to be able to have that humor work.
Such a feel-good movie.
Yeah.
He's not just like a nice guy. He's like a fun guy and such a smart guy. And I just can't say enough like nice things about him.
Could you describe that you're a part of it too? Because it's in the collector's, kind of menagerie of creatures. There.
In the collector's part of it, when they talk about what has happened to people who haven't gone with his wishes, what has happened to them. So they're being tortured, and they're like the pink people, and I'm the pink person who did not go along with him. So I'm being tortured in his collection chamber.
You see your sad eyes behind that.
Yeah, I was like,
awesome.
I didn't even know you then. I was like, I want to help her.
But anyway, James Gunn is so awesome. And I remember my mom came to visit me one day, and for some reason, and I'm not a cool person at all, but this one night happened to be really cool, where I had like 4 invites to 4 different parties, and I took my mom to all the parties.
Wow. One
of them was James Gunn's party, so she got to meet like everybody, and he's got amazing friends. She met like Michael Rooker, she met Nick Holmes, she met the blue girl. She met so many people.
Oh, Karen Gillan.
Yes, who is so sweet. But my mom got to meet all of them, and I loved it. That was the first party we went to, and then we went to like some club, some other Hollywood party. I loved it. And my mom, to this day, that is so dear to her, and the fact that I get to share that with her, and she sees these movies, and she's like, oh my God, I met this person like said this and that.
Yeah.
It is so amazing, and I have to thank James Gunn for that.
I'm going to thank him. Thank you, James Gunn.
He's great. I don't even think he knows like the type of impact that he's had with my family and the connection that he's made with them and how special
You should tell him.
Feel and stuff. He's a little busy nowadays.
I would say that.
Let's get him on the phone.
Yeah, I don't think I have his number right now.
Okay, well that's our show.
I will say it's Rooker's fault.
I blame him for a lot of things.
I had his number, and then recently-ish, Rooker at some panel dialed him, and somebody figured out the
tones.
What the tones
Oh my
called.
gosh!
And gave James Gunn's number away, and I know that he recently said like, "Hey guys,
oh my God.
everybody who's my
nerds.
friend, I changed my number." I'm about to get married soon, and James was one of the person I emailed who was like, "Hey, I remember at this party you had really great cake. What was it?" He right away emailed me. He's like, "This is what I."
Is he gonna come?
I don't know. He
better come.
But either way, he's very busy. He knows he's invited to anything. Like, he's just He's just great.
No, he actually seems like someone who really wants to make a good product and make it be fun and a type of movie that he would like to see.
But we're going to talk more about that on our Guardians of the Galaxy episode. when we do that.
Well, speaking of relationships and romance, I would say that Peter Quill and Gamora in those films,
Yeah.
Yes!
you see that sexual tension. You see something, something that nothing. It hasn't really happened yet, but it's going to. I mean, there is that kind of like it's almost like this like moonlighting, kind
Yes,
of like,
very much so.
banter and thing between them, and like you want them to.
Or
get
it
together.
happened one night.
Yeah.
Or
You want.
Han Solo and Princess Leia.
Yeah, it's true. It's a little bit like that.
Although I could,
Hey.
although that relationship I always knew was never going to last. Whereas
Because
Gamora,
brother and sister.
no,
No,
that's
no,
Luke.
that's
But
Luke.
that's
Luke and Leia,
that's
but
on
Han
my
Solo.
list though.
Yeah.
Luke and Leia, because there was a time where he was obviously into her
Yeah.
in a not sisterly way.
No, and in fairness, and I know we'll talk more about it on our Star Wars episode, but I mean, when Star Wars came out, and I kind of thought of myself as being Luke Skywalker, and he has that line. They have that line when they make the rescue, and she goes, your friend is quite a mercenary. I wonder if he cares about anyone or anybody. Or she leaves. And then he says, "So, what do you think of her on?" "Oh, forget it." He goes, "Good."
Right.
And I thought to
yeah.
myself, "Boy, I really like Luke to get together with Princess Leia. Like I'd like to get together with Princess Leia. I mean, come on, we all wanted to get
I
together
know.
with
But see,
Princess
that's
Leia."
here's the thing though, is
Why
that
are you calling Princess Leia? Isn't it Leia?
it's Leia.
It is Leia. You're right.
Yeah, it's Leia.
You've been getting it wrong all these years, Larry.
I'm Greek. Don't you know that?
The Greeks do pronounce
The Greeks do pronounce it Leah. Okay.
James was
Yeah.
Greek.
It's a running gag. Alcohol pronounces it Leah. So
Okay, so
I don't like it. I don't like it.
okay,
you're right.
that's
You're right.
fine.
You got-
Okay, all right.
You have to keep us on our
yeah,
game.
yeah.
here.
Okay. So this has been great, and we've talked about.
But Leia,
yeah.
we got to
Yes.
because Leia. Then he's at a point where he actually kisses her. So now there's even a little bit more of the adrenaline and
She kisses him when they leap across the thing on the Death
Yeah.
Star.
She says, "Good luck."
Yes, and then in Empire Strikes Back, and he's
well,
like,
that's like a real
In many
kiss.
cultures, you kiss on the lips, and it does not mean romantic love.
Was there?
Not
In many
in a
galaxies.
galaxy far, far away, a long
Not
time
in
ago.
America.
no, but then it's like
America's a little more.
How do you? That's what it was like. How do you change your orientation of like, oh, my sister now? So
But Lucas
I
didn't
have to
know
tell
at
my penis to
the
not
first
react.
Movie, he wasn't sure what he was going to do
I
with his
guess
characters,
even in the
right?
second movie, he wasn't sure because it's
Right.
only,
Right.
only
Yeah.
in Jedi where
Yes.
he tells her, "You're my sister," and
Yeah.
she goes, "I know. I think I've always known." Well, you didn't know.
Yeah,
in the
wow,
second movie.
what a weirdo.
There's an
No.
There's an actual. It's a psychological thing. It's a thing where because it's happened a lot where people who are related are actually incredibly attracted to each other, and it has to do with like their biology and whatnot. And that's why like sometimes I watch too much Maury and Forensic Files.
and Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I do like the Games of Thrones, but where people who are related who don't know that they are end up like together.
Oh,
And
right.
it's
Yeah,
just
no.
like this
Well, okay.
crazy.
It's interesting
Also twins.
you brought that up though, that because I want to. Then that's a segue to another movie I want to mention though, which involves a lot of romance and sex, and that is
Romeo and
1982 Paul Schrader's Cat People.
That's on my list.
Because Cat People, Paul
Okay, I'm
Schrader's
lost.
version of it is really weird. Where the basic
Yes.
premise is that there's this race of people who literally turn into panthers.
Yes.
But the thing
Vicious.
is, though, they turn into panthers.
And they live in Florida.
They could, but they turn into panthers when
And
they're
they bring power to the people.
when they're sexually aroused. They turn into cat creatures.
Who doesn't?
And the only way to turn back into them is to kill somebody. So if you don't want it to turn into a cat person and kill, the only way to not turn into a cat person is to have sex with somebody of your own kind.
Yes.
Another cat person like your brother or sister or mother or father. So there's this weird, bizarre, twisted, incestuous thing.
It could be a cousin twice removed or something
Whatever,
like
but
that.
you have to be from that same race of cat people. So
Right.
it's this incestuous thing to keep you from turning into like this monstrous cat
Right.
creature, which is very bizarre.
And Stephen King's Sleepwalkers has more or less the same premise,
Oh, okay.
and it's mother and son.
Oh, okay.
Ew.
Right. So that's another
What
kind
is
of.
this?
This is not the show I was thinking about.
What are the 70s, 80s, and early 90s about?
I know.
It's a whole other world we can expose you to.
Well, I mean,
Family values.
and we've talked about a lot of different films, and and I think we could go on and on. But I was thinking maybe we do like a little lightning
round. Yeah.
We're gonna throw out some films really quick.
Golden Girls.
Just
Brady Bunch.
no. I'll tell you.
Golden Girls is kind of horror.
Talk about, it's funny because you've been sitting right in front of a great little character over there. I want to bring up a really
He's on my
cool film,
list.
Bride of Chucky from 1998, and it's Tiffany that's played by
Jennifer Tilly.
I saw that one.
Yeah.
So
All right, here we go.
Chucky
Evil-
finds his love.
Yeah.
And it's Jennifer Tilly.
And
but
Jennifer
she has
Tilly's
to
great.
die and get into another doll so they can have doll sex together.
And not only that, there's a twisted little, spoiler alert thing at the end where there's like a spawn of Chucky. So,
Right.
So it's really twisted. But there's
that's a romantic movie. Though.
Yeah, there you go.
It
Okay.
is a romantic movie.
James, how about you? James?
Annika Hansen, Nikki, who is now known as Nikki Peterson, who was my best friend in middle school, made me watch that. It's so
Really?
scary.
Yeah.
Now, did you find it funny and scary though? Because it is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it
over
is.
the
Yeah,
top
just like
as
our
well.
friendship.
James, how about it? Lightning round. Give us one. Come on.
Here's a sentimental favorite of mine from 2004, written by Charlie Kaufman, who had done Being John Malkovich. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Amazing!
Yes,
Love it.
I love that. Love that movie.
Now I'm
Beautiful,
in.
beautiful movie. Directed by Michelle Gondry.
Finally.
Love Michelle Gondry.
Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet play a couple who
I'm
are
crying
broken
already.
up.
I'm
Yeah.
not even here
But
anymore.
what gives it its kind of sci-fi element is that they live in a society where you can use science to erase memories, and so they erase their memories of the relationship.
it.
Very, very touching, sad, very, very romantic, and beautiful.
I hate
It's a
it,
beautiful
but in
movie.
that I love it kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Would you recommend that movie?
I do. Please watch
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, if you haven't
but
seen
like,
that movie.
have you seen it? Okay, so way later, 10 years later, but like her,
yeah, it's
Yeah.
very much.
it
of the
kind of
same-
reminds
yeah.
me of it. It's
This is
like,
the,
if
That's
you-
a great romance movie.
If you like Sunshine of the Spotless
Yeah.
Mind, again, whiskey.
Well, same writer.
Her, why really?
Yeah, Charlie
Blew my
Kaufman.
mind. I knew that, but I didn't put them together.
See.
Blew
But this
my
is
mind.
with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yes.
Yeah, and the premise of this is
It's Joaquin Phoenix. He's in love. He's emotionally in love with this voice, with this soul in some ways.
from the cell phone or
Computer.
It's a computer, but in a way, it's like it's a soul, which is in a way I think what we all fall in love with, right?
Yeah, falling in love with basically Siri, but
Voice
Siri
I talk to Siri all the time. She's
is a
my only
person.
friend. She's my second best friend.
Scarlett Johansson.
It's like I love my fiance, Adam Green, and Siri,
okay. In that order.
and then probably like Lauren and Sonia.
Okay, that's great.
Lauren,
What happened
I
to
set
James
up-
Gunn?
James.
Oh,
No,
how quickly we move on.
I don't move on, but he's one of the people in my life who, like, I'm probably not super close to, but if I hear his name, I'm like, oh.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Sean, lightning round. Give it to us.
I got two. One is a film that I don't know too many people know about. It's called Return of the Living Dead Part 3,
I haven't seen it.
directed by Brian Usna. And this is a movie that, even though it's the second sequel of Return of the Living Dead,
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with the first two movies. And it's actually kind of like this touching but very gruesome and dark love story of this guy and his girlfriend. Basically, the gas or the experimental chemical from the first two movies is used to bring back this young guy's girlfriend after she's dies horribly in a car accident. So she does come back, but she comes back as a zombie who needs to eat brains. But
I
Once
did see
people are
this.
dead,
It's-
they should just be dead.
well, but if you love the person, you want to bring them back. And the thing is that
You
she,
want to, but that's just selfish, right?
in some ways,
Yeah.
yes, it is. And he pays the
I
price.
don't want to be buried in a
He
pet
pays
cemetery.
the price for it. He pays the price for it because
Did you know your
she's.
fingernails and hair still grow?
They do.
Yeah.
They do. That's true. I don't
Yeah.
know how long, but they do. But anyway, she also loves him, though she doesn't want to, but she wants to eat his brains. But the weird, twisted thing is that the one thing that will curb her desire to eat flesh and brains is physical pain. So she keeps kind of cutting herself and putting razor blades in her and doing everything she can to curb that overpowering appetite. So it's this tragic thing where she ends up looking like something out of like Hellraiser, where she's got torn up and like razor blades and cuts everywhere. She's doing everything she can to help from feeding on the boy she loves.
Now that's
Right.
love.
Again, like
really
Paul
good.
saw its grace.
Yeah, it has the element.
yeah.
It's actually a really good movie that I don't think people know too much about. But
All right, Sean.
I know that one.
I have a
I know
second
that
one
one.
I want to mention, which is from 2002. It's called May.
Oh,
And
that's a
May
great one.
is,
Sean, I don't know this one.
May is a kind of goth outcast girl. She's socially awkward. She doesn't really have many close
Very bad
friends.
relationship with her mother.
Yeah, it's just things don't work. She has this kind of doll that just like she keeps like almost like her only friend, and various things happen where just horrible relationships, just fall apart, and she gets so desperate, and then she decides, but she's starting to lose her mind. But basically, she decides, okay, I don't have any friends. I'm going to build myself a friend. So she takes the best parts of her real friends and cuts off hands and makes a friend. But it's a great
That's a great
creepy
one.
movie.
I think you'd like that one.
It's really
Yeah,
good.
that's good.
It's
Good psychological
that
horror.
desire to like.
Jessica built her.
That's a good one.
That's nice, Sean. I'll have to check that one out. Matt,
All right,
give
here
it
we
to
go.
us.
Well, one that we forgot right off the bat is King Kong.
Oh yeah.
Beauty and the
Sure,
Beast.
Of course.
Right.
Your
The
classic.
goddamn Beast.
What's that?
Beauty and the Beast. That's
Well, Beauty and the Beast too. Yeah, another one. But
Yes,
with
no, all versions
here's the
of it.
thing: all versions of it. I would go with the Jean Cocteau one. That's
Yeah.
my favorite.
Sure.
Yeah.
But in that story, you've got a beast and a woman who, well, they're at least the same size relatively.
Right, exactly.
And so there could be a kind of relationship
Sure.
there. But with poor King Kong and Fay Ray,
yeah.
what do you got? You got it's
Yeah.
just never going to work.
What's he
that's,
gonna do?
What? Yeah. Once he finally got her and took her away,
Yeah.
where was it going to go?
Well, let's say for the sake of argument, let's just say, you know what? She says, you know what? I'm going to make this work.
Yeah, I gotta hear.
Well, I'm
curious.
I'm just saying.
I love
like,
this.
Not so much in the 1933 version, but let's move to like 76 with Jessica Lange. Okay, she seems to try to develop a relationship with the great ape. She starts to talk to him and stuff. I mean, what if she says, okay, you know what? I'm stuck on this island. We're going to be together. I'm going to try and make this work. Well, what can they really do? Really? Because he's enormous.
Yeah.
I mean,
how big of a circle she can make with her arms? I'm sorry. I try to work clean. Yeah, it's not going to work.
It's not gonna work.
So no matter what happened, it was almost better that he fell from the Empire State Building
Yeah.
rather than have to go with the breakup talk. Listen, you're an ape. I'm
Yeah,
human.
that's true.
yeah.
And
It's not you. It's not me. It's you.
yeah, it really is you this time. It's so you because you're a giant gorilla.
Unless it's the 80s sequel, King Kong Lives.
Yes.
King Kong finds the female King Kong.
yeah.
well, that's no
a
fun.
terrible
No,
movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, this has been great.
No, wait a minute.
I'm sorry. I'm
It's
sorry.
funny how you always like to wrap it up right when I'm speaking.
I want to.
said.
There's gonna thank you. Are you in my wife's brain?
Where did your wife go?
She goes to her happy place. She
I got here. She was here. She
Yeah.
was beautiful. She was offering me food, drinks. Some
Yeah, no,
We were
no.
talking about Japan. We were talking about all this stuff,
look.
and then she disappeared.
because crystal meth is a private thing that needs to be savored.
No. He's totally
Fine, I'm
joking.
in, I'm trying.
He's totally joking.
I hope he's not.
No. Crystal,
You,
bad.
you were a liar.
No,
she
bad.
rolls hard, and
No.
I just try to keep up.
No.
I watched a show Intervention. I've always wanted to be
Okay.
a part of
No,
it.
No. Okay, look.
And the fact that she makes it herself
Okay,
is
guys.
even
No.
hotter.
It's like a Real
No.
Housewife stuff.
Okay, this is.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
By the
this
way, if you're at home doing crystal meth,
Yeah.
stop it.
Okay, yeah. All right, okay, this is very funny. This is how rumors get started. We're just saying
That's you.
there
heard,
is
hey,
no...
it's all right if it's my rumor.
No.
I'm allowing this rumor.
I'm gonna start other rumors.
No.
I dated Brad Pitt.
Okay, come on. Come on.
He is still angry.
I wrote. Give me a great movie.
Okay.
Star Wars.
The
I
Godfather.
wrote Star Wars.
Oh,
and
sorry.
Godfather.
Okay.
I came up with it before I was even born.
All right, Lars.
And it was
Like-
Savant.
stolen from. I was a savant.
Yeah.
This is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Laura. That's
and
No
great.
wonder you like Grace because
Yeah.
you were like, before.
I wrote it directly.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna take credit from everything that happened from 20 years before I was born in the 70s till today.
You
Sounds
are always
great.
going to do well in this town.
Thank you.
Take a sip. That's awesome. King Kong, you were saying? What were we saying?
Here's another one for you. I talk about a twisted romance. One of my favorite movies. I don't know if we've ever even talked about this movie. The Honeymoon Killers.
That's on my list.
Oh.
1970, based on a true story.
I haven't seen this one.
Shirley Stoller, Tony LoBianco.
Oh.
And it's inspired by a true story of Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck. And they were the Lonely Hearts Killers of the 1940s. And they, Martha actually meets Raymond through a Lonely Hearts club and finds out he's a con man. And he befriends all these, romances these women to get at their fortune and
then
rip
kill
them
them.
off.
Right.
But what's strange is that he meets Martha and they kind of fall in love. He's still going to be a con man. He's still going to romance these women, and she's mad about it. She does not like him doing this. But they work out a system where, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the past, I don't think Raymond killed anybody, but now he's killing
think so.
people.
Yeah, now that they end up working together and figuring out this perfect kind of scheme.
Yeah, and the schemes get more and more horrific as they
They
go
should.
along. Yeah, and that's a great one. But right till the very end, they're in love.
That's the thing. They're these dark, twisted people, but they themselves are really they're a happy couple.
I think that's what fucks a lot of relationships up.
Killing people?
The people that you see like these movies and they're like, oh my god, these people are so in love. They'll do anything for their partner and they'll go along with anything. Why can't you go to the mall with me? And I think that's where we go wrong. I'm gonna blame this movie personally on every messed up relationship there is.
Well, you picked a good one to blame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is terrific advice.
Yeah. And my third one, which is real fast, it's Get Out. And I don't have to say anything else.
No, that's a great movie. That's
It's-
the best movie.
It's so
there
great.
The movie
And
Get
That
Out.
is the best movie of this
Yeah.
goddamn century, and every single let's talk
Yeah,
about that.
and talk about a terrible, horrible, tragic relationship that starts off. It seems so perfect
beautiful.
and nice.
The beginning of this movie is so beautiful. It's almost like you're very artistic, love story, romance, new coming of age.
Yeah.
Jordan Peele is a goddamn genius.
So the
Also,
the premise of Get Out.
premise is
And-
so good.
Yeah, and you've got this black man with his white girlfriend gonna meet her parents.
Okay.
So now he's going to go visit the
Okay.
parents in their big fancy white neighborhood. And at first it seems like they're just not to be even believed. They're so nice. They're so welcoming. There's a little bit of kind of racial awkwardness, but it seems innocent enough. It
Right.
doesn't seem like there's anything malicious or anything about it.
Okay.
And then things start to happen, and gradually you realize that this movie is going almost into like a Stepford Wives territory.
It is Stepford Wives,
Yeah.
but it's like the 2017
Yeah.
Stepford Wives.
And I don't want this. Talk about a spoiler alert.
don't-
I don't
yeah,
want to
don't give
give.
away to-
I don't want to
people.
give too
Don't
much
do.
of this at all because
it all away.
because discovering all these things and the little creepy moments where you're going, "What the fuck is going on?" really make this movie. And Jordan Peele's a genius, and I always love him. And
I didn't know
Key
he
and
was.
Peele.
I did not know he was a genius. I
Yeah.
thought he was funny, but like when I saw it, I was like, God damn it, he's a genius.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
It's so great. And
All right.
again, I know that it's the big popular movie, but if you haven't seen it, you really need to.
All right. I'm going to put that down on my list. Thank
Do
you,
it.
Matt.
Have you not seen it?
You know what? Some people have, lives or kids
Wow.
or something. You know, and,
You know what? I
uh,
have people that I'm very guilty of the things where like when a movie gets very popular, like the more popular it gets, the less I want to see it.
Sure.
Right. Because you worry about your
Yeah.
expectations.
And I saw this kind of late in the game, and with all the hype, it was wonderful.
I saw it mid in the game where I was like, people are saying this is great. This is probably like whatever. And then I saw it and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
In so many different ways. It's not what you think it's going to be.
No.
It's
Well,
better-
you-
it's better than you think it's going to be.
Right.
It's,
And check out the alternate ending, too, because
And-
there's an alternate ending.
What-
that
No.
is also great.
Now, what's great about Monster Party is because there's four of us, we all see, some of us
I'm
see more
counting
movies.
5.
Oh, yes. And
Yeah,
but it's like
new official member.
we always introduce each other to other movies, and there's a huge list of movies that I haven't seen that Sean, Matt, or James have brought up, and
Yeah.
so I've got them on a list, and that's what we hope our listeners will do too.
And speaking of movies and projects that we all want to see, What do you got?
Yeah, what do you
What
got?
do you
Going
got coming that
on?
you'd like
You
to
can
plug? That
yeah,
you'd like
push,
to tell
pitch.
our listeners? Please check this out.
What can we look forward to?
Okay, so I have some more. I'm usually the voice of Dora and many other characters in Robot Chicken.
Oh, I love
Robot
that
Chicken's so
always
great.
makes me
Yeah.
laugh.
It is always one of the most fun shows to be a part of, and every
Great.
time I get to read a script, I just feel so giddy that I get to do it before everybody else does. And when I get to do voices for it and come up with different things with both Seth and Matt Steinrich, and everybody is just, it's a treat. I feel very special, but also I have a project with my best friend in the world, Adam Green, which I'm not really allowed to talk about what it is, but it's a project. It's with Adam Green. If you like Adam Green films, you will enjoy this. And
Great.
I love working with him. It was the most fun I've had. It was also very cold, and everybody else in the movie was amazing. I love everybody except one person. No, I'm just kidding. I love everybody in that movie. But yeah, I do have a project coming up later in the year. It should come out, and I don't know what I'm allowed to say.
Well,
or
I
not
want
say,
to also
but-
mention Holliston, though, which is, very much in the Monster Party vein of horror fans.
Horror,
It's
comedy.
the whole horror fandom. And
Yes!
that's very much like a Friends style for horror nerd geeks.
It absolutely is. It's comedy. It's horror. It's all the things that you love about horror. It's got Tony Todd. It's got Kane Hodder. It's got Derek Mears.
Dee
It's
Snider.
got
Kane Hodder?
It's got Dee Snider. It's got Cody Snider, who you may not be as familiar with, but he's Dee Snider's son. But he's also like one of the most amazing directors that I've met. I actually met Cody when he was maybe like 16 years old, and I remember him being so sweet and asking me all these questions about Hollywood and whatnot, and I had no idea who this child was, and I remember then realizing who his father was, and I was like, I can't help you. Can you help me? Can you help me? Like you're in. I don't know. But he's just like the sweetest, most talented filmmaker I've ever met. He's so great. But Holliston is this just really love project, and
speaking of relationships in horror, I mean, it's the guys trying to make horror films, but balancing the relationship with their girlfriends.
I play Laura Farstretch, who plays Joe Lynch, who plays Joe in the show, his girlfriend. Joe Lynch in real life and in the movie is a horror movie director. Joe Lynch just did a wonderful movie, Everly, with Selma Hayek. He just has another movie out right now. And Corey English, who has been on the WB and so many other things, who has the most beautiful voice I've ever heard in my life. I forget that she's a goddamn angel. More talented than I'll ever be. I'm just
stop.
like happy to be in this group of people. She plays Adam Green's girlfriend, and she is so funny.
She's great.
I don't think she gets as much credit as she deserves. She's so funny and so fucking beautiful.
She is beautiful. The market basket
she-
thing that's become
True story.
viral.
True story.
is-
That came from a rehearsal when we were just like reading the lines, and then apparently I can't pronounce things right. It comes from me knowing many languages, which I think it just comes from me being raised in the Midwest, basically. But I can't say it right. So then I think it came out from like Corey said it to me, and then I repeated it back to her, and then she's like, no, Laura, it's this way. And then Adam's like laughing. And I was like, why is he laughing? And he's like, we're keeping this in the script. And I was like, okay, whatever. It's not even funny.
But it is.
Apparently people think it's hilarious.
It is. And she
I
is
can
great as a
pronounce things
straight person, like, as the straight one in the comedy team.
She's so good at being the straight person, but
funny,
is
too.
Hilarious. And she is so funny. And god damn it, is she so beautiful. I sort of love her. Have you seen the finale of season 2 where she sings?
I have not known.
Okay, well, she's live.
Wow. Okay.
And literally, and I'm not saying that you need to think this, but I had a friend, I don't know if she was lying to me or not, but she's like, oh my God, your acting is so beautiful when you cry in the last scene. It just touches me. And I was like, real crying? Because Corey's voice is like so gorgeous and I can't get enough of it. People who can sing, and I know that if I had any singing talent, I would literally just be doing bars regularly. I'd be like, I am at Monster Party.
You are always welcome to sing on this show.
Thank you. But yeah, anyway, that's Holliston. It's
It's great.
It's full of talented people. It's got Dee Snider. It's got
Yeah, lots
Odorous.
Odor,
who
yes, I know.
so sad.
Rest in
Yes,
peace,
yes.
Dave, who
Member of the band Guar.
who is amazing. I honestly would have thought if when I was like 12 or 13 years old, you would have been like, you're going to meet this guy. I'd have been like, ugh, gross. And then once I met him, we were so in sync and we would have these long conversations and they were just so deep and beautiful and amazing. And we had this relationship that I would have never thought that I would have had with somebody like him, just from being just young and not knowing the world.
Right.
And he taught me so much about life, and he loved who every single human was as a person. He's my most unlikely friend that I ever thought I would ever
Sure.
have, to be completely honest. And one of my closest, most insightful friends and intelligent human beings that I've ever gotten to be around. And
Wow.
silly and funny. And I just thank God for the time I had around him. And even, unfortunately, till the day he died, I remember calling him that day.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And my cell phone still has his number on there in the last text message I sent him.
Oh, jeez.
And
It was so great. Such a funny, talented guy. I loved Guar forever. But then seeing his just this natural gift. I mean, Guar, there's a lot of humor in that band.
Sure.
So my next question then is,
I'm sorry.
when will you be joining Guar?
next year, yeah.
That's great.
But I also want to mention the Real Housewives of Horror, which I really enjoyed too.
Oh yeah, we love that.
Bree
Oh,
Grant, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
It's a
she's
great
so
little
funny.
parody of horror parody of
Real Housewives of whatever, yeah.
and your character, you're kind of like the wife of like a Chucky type of
Yes!
which
Oh,
is
no!
hilarious.
The original Chucky's doing a billion things, right?
Yeah,
It's really funny
Yeah.
though. Yeah.
yeah. I think everyone is really great in that.
Yeah.
Everybody's great. Bria, I know, I tell her all the time, I'm like, I hope you don't think I'm creepy, and I know that you adore me, but I adore you. I'm
She's
just such a
funny.
fan of my friends. Like, anybody who's around me, like, I can't help but, like, adore and, like, love you. And,
I'm really a fan of my friends.
as you should be. You shouldn't be friends with somebody who you're
Really?
like, fuck off.
Really?
No, you know what? You should be friends with people who you're like, I don't agree with you. There's something about you that I like, but I
Yeah.
don't agree with you. I feel like those are good people to be friends with. But
We've all
also-
grown a lot, let's just say.
But
In our
some people, the
More
human
than
centipede
others.
is just not in our
one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I can't.
Oh,
You know what?
All right,
Yeah,
all right.
but
You and your fiance have to stay.
Have you seen Dogtooth?
What?
It's a Greek film.
I've
It's
heard
called
of that.
Dogtooth.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
It's a Greek film.
It was nominated for the Oscar.
It's a Greek film. It is the most mundane, fascinating movie you've ever seen.
Kind
in
of
your
like
life.
James.
and disturbing.
Oh,
Do not agree. Who here has seen it?
Yes.
Okay.
Just
the
James.
Greek.
Two of us.
Yeah.
Would you say? Okay, so it's conversations between you and I.
Okay.
You don't have to agree with me, but do you think? I think it's the most mundane, fascinating film I've seen in my life.
Well, it's about parents who decide to raise their kids outside the conventions of society in a very, very cloistered home. So the kids are pretty clueless. It's almost like they're raising them in an experiment. And that's what makes it disturbing, because it's very unfair to the kids, and that their behavior is so out of whack. And you're almost like, I felt uncomfortable watching most of it.
Sounds great.
Loved
Sounds like I'll love it.
I loved it.
Yeah, I love it.
It's mundane. It's like the daily life. It's really boring, but it's so different than you.
But
and it's so weird and creepy.
Kind of gets under your skin, kind of thing.
Mundane, but there are some,
Just beautiful.
but there are some really, truly creepy, disturbing moments in it. I mean, it's horror.
That's
in
why
a
I
way.
think she would like May.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think May is good. May's
Yeah.
a good.
Honey, write it down. We're watching May.
Fantastic. Well,
Wow.
Lauren,
So
thank you
oh my
so
God.
much
Yes.
for being with us.
Thank you,
tonight.
Lauren.
Thank you for
were,
giving us all this
terrific.
time and
lots of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll come back, right? And
Absolutely.
All right.
I didn't know we were over.
Hey, but you know what? God, we've gone over 2 hours.
Yeah, the fiance has fallen asleep. Over there.
He sleeps often after 9 o'clock.
Well, thanks again. We'd love to have
We
you.
have a lot in common.
Come back anytime.
Yes, please.
No, thank you
That's
so
what
much,
I tell my
Laura.
Airbnb guests. Come back anytime. Pay me for the scratch floors.
Hey,
and
open one in Japan.
I wish.
We'll be there.
I won't. It's too far. But I desperately want to go to Japan. I know it's my fiance's favorite place in the world.
We're all going then.
And his ex-girlfriend's favorite place in the world.
The ex-girlfriend's favorite. Is she in Japanese? And
I don't know.
Is she in Japanese? What does that mean? Is she
turning Japanese?
Is she translated into Japanese or?
Of some sort. Yeah, I think she's like half. I don't know. I pretend to not care.
Wow.
Look, all I'm saying is that I got the ring.
Wow.
That's the important
Wow.
thing.
Well, there's nothing better than awkward vacations.
Good luck with that.
Every time he's talking about Japan, I'll just try to like be more Japanese than his ex-Japanese girlfriend. I'll be like, "Do you like this more?"
Yeah, just cover your mouth when you laugh, and you're on your way.
Is this racist?
No, that just happens. It's a cultural thing.
Cultural, yeah.
Yeah, we're not talking about Japanese people here.
I cover my mouth when I laugh.
Okay, then you're kind of
I don't like
Japanese.
me.
Yeah, you're turning Japanese.
You know, I don't know if we should go into that. I'm getting a little uncomfortable over here.
No, I've stopped recording 2 hours ago. So,
But thanks again.
You're welcome.
Time for a listener shout out.
shout out! Hey, woohoo!
Who do we got today?
This goes out to Joe Johnson in Valencia, California.
Joe Johnson!
Valencia.
Joe recently bought the Monster Party cap from our eBay store,
He didn't.
Wise choice.
which is Monster Party store on eBay, easy to remember. And when I saw Joe's name, I thought, wait a minute, that name is familiar to me. Larry, why is that name familiar? I think I met Joe before.
Yes, I believe you did.
I believe he's a good friend of yours.
We all met him.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine, and he's a huge pinball fanatic fan.
I seem to recall.
Oh, I think I met him too then.
Yeah, he's got an amazing game room filled with pinball machines, and he just got a spectacular one, the Elvira one.
Ooh,
And it's
I remember
really,
that.
really
I played that
nice.
Elvira.
Yeah.
I love pinball, and I loved that.
Yeah.
That game was good.
Oh man, did I play that one?
So Joe's a listener,
Yep.
apparently, and he bought the cap, and that was very nice.
It was very nice.
So thank you, Joe. We appreciate your
Thanks,
support.
Joe.
Very cool. Also want to do a quick shout out to a listener from across the pond, Jay Gunn in the UK.
Jay Gunn.
James Gunn?
No, Jay Gunn.
Oh, Jay Gunn.
He's a writer and artist of a comic called Surface Tension for Titan Comics over there. It might become a
Cool.
TV series. It's been
Wow,
optioned.
great.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah, he's also done some game design work for Sony. He has also recently been on a trip to Tokyo.
Oh,
And he's,
dude. So jealous.
Into a lot of the same stuff we are. Harryhausen, Daimajin, Godzilla, and other kaiju. And he's a big Studio Ghibli fan, apparently.
Awesome.
So, Jay, thank you
Me too.
for listening. We appreciate that.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, let's
Thank you.
Let's also remind our listeners that you can find us on Facebook and YouTube at Monster Party TV. Our Twitter handle is at Monster Party HQ. On Instagram, we're also Monster Party HQ. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, please take a moment and write a review. We would love to hear from you.
Yes, we would.
We would like to hear from you.
Yeah.
And I'd like to give a special shout out and a special thanks to some very fantastic sponsors, people who support us.
Ah,
Yes.
I'm talking about Creature Features.
Hey, we love Creature
Creature
Features.
Features, located at 2904 West Magnolia Boulevard in the beautiful downtown
The
Burbank.
best part of Magnolia.
It is. It really is. And I want to give a special thanks to Taylor, Eric, and Matt. These guys are great. They
greatest.
run the store, and they have everything for your monster needs. They have
I have a lot of them, too.
Models, toys, magazines, soundtracks.
Massage chair.
And also they have these great gallery shows every month, and they're absolutely amazing. Seriously, folks, if you check out their website, creaturefeatures.com, and you can find out all the information about all their art gallery shows, all their events that they do. It's absolutely amazing.
And if you subscribe to their newsletter, you'll see bulletins every week on what Monster Party's up to.
yeah,
How do you like that?
right.
I think what you can do is you go down. There's like a green box. You can click on the Creature Features email newsletter. It's really
And
cool.
It will take you through the internet to
yes,
other
yes.
spots.
They
Yeah.
also have an eBay.
Just like Tron.
Yes, and like Monster Party, Creature Features also has their own eBay store. It's C-Features, and you can find all the stuff that they have on eBay there.
Very cool.
But I also want to give another little shout out to Time Tunnel Toys. Yeah! Joe Shawn Sheridan in San Jose. It's located at 1583 Meridian Avenue in San Jose, California. And these guys, not only do they have a great store filled with antique vintage toys, but they also, every like 4 to 6 months, they organize this great antique toy convention, and it's kind of, they call it the Time Tunnel Super Toy Doll Collectibles Show. And if you go to their website, it'll give you information about it. It's in San Jose, where it's like the hub of the eBay is there, and Apple and all the high tech people. They all go to this place and
Atari.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but I want special thanks to Joe and Sharon for being so supportive, giving out our flyers. I really appreciate it.
We need to make that pilgrimage.
Yeah,
all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
On that note, I am Matt Weinhold.
I am Shawn Sheridan.
I'm Larry Stroth.
And I'm James Gonis.
Keep America strong!
Watch a horror movie on date night, especially one with Laura Ortiz. Come on, save your marriage.
And if you feel like you need another cocktail, or you need to run to the restroom, you guys, can we just take a moment? I got to talk to the fiance or something.
Yeah.
You need to.
I don't know if I can answer this question. Excuse me. Let me.
Time to lament over it.
Yeah.
You want, before we start, you want a little refresher there?
Yeah. Well, someone.
Well, you're just closer.
Where's my wife? Wife! More booze!
Woman.
What's your pleasure there?
I
It's
said
the whiskey,
Jameson whiskey. Oh, whatever's closest to you.
Maybe another ice cube too, Lar?
No.
My liege.
I don't know.
Well, okay. Yeah, sure. Sure, it's probably the best. I have to get up early tomorrow.
Can you just toss that over? Is that the one?
I think it was Jameson.
Jameson.
Down here if you got
yeah.
The fiance has it.
God damn it. He doesn't even like whiskey.
There you go. Another cube on its way.
He's got some issues. No. He's perfect.
Of course.
It's annoying. How long have you been married?
What's that?
How long have you been married?
Honey, how long have we been married?
You want to dump any of that in there? Or?
It's like 6 years or something like that. We've been together for, see, it's weird because we both forget because we were together a long time before we got married.
And you were drunk when you got
So
married.
like cumulative, I want to say it's like 11 or 12 years. Carrie! She's off.
See, ours is easy to remember because it's 2000. It was in 2000. So
perfect.
it's easy to.
Wow. 17 years.
17 years, yeah.
Wow. My 10th is coming up.
Hey!
Yay.
My 23rd.
You okay?
Hey.
You want to talk about it?
Tonight's episode.
How about you?
Marriage.
What? 23?
23?
Yeah.
All right.
Damn.
Okay.
Yeah. What's it to you?
Crazy.
Larry,
You're going to find out in a minute.
In 2 years, that's your silver anniversary.
This shit's about to get personal.
Shit, and I got to do something.
Wow.
I have to.
Yeah.
You're not recording, are you?
Of course I am.
Great.
Do you guys watch I can't think of anything today. My brain is like broken. The
Fishtails?
Jokesters.
Oh, jokesters.
What's Jokesters?
Pranksters?
No. You're talking about.
The True TV,
Impractical
Brian
Jokers.
Quinn, Impractical
Impractical
Jokers.
Jokers.
Yeah.
See, like I'll remember. I'm like, oh, Brian Quinn. There's Sal. There's Gat, but I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're
Joe-
4 friends.
Yeah, Joe can never. The only time that you get him is if you try to get him to say something bad about his wife. Like he
Right.
can't even jokingly say it.
Yeah.
He's too like scared.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Well,
those
that's
guys-
very, very close to Larry. Not about necessarily the wife, but yeah, if there's anything that strays a little bit too much into the real world,
What do you mean? No. Real world? Are you what?
you're going to get real?
No.
You're going to get real this
I
episode?
can talk about the real world.
All right. Well, we got to start
Wow.
Gonna
All
sip
right.
on this.
Well,
It's on.
this. All right.
all right. I don't know where you get that. We know what the topic is.
Yes.
Yes.
We're calling it.
What are we calling it?
Love.
I want
Love Monster Party style.
Nice.
And then you can do your love.
Monster Party style.
Do
Do you have any knowledge of the show Love American Style?
I honestly forgot that I did podcasts up until like as I'm sitting here. I was just
she doesn't
thinking.
know.
I was like, oh, I've even hosted like Adam Green's with him.
All right.
Yeah,
It's a very popular podcast. Yeah.
I think today is just a day where my head's just not on me.
You know,
Perfect. No,
It'll
don't
come to
change
me.
it.
is he a comedian?
Adam Green.
Adam Green. He's a
No,
fil-
Adam
he's
Green is a movie
filmmaker.
director.
He made
Yeah.
Holliston.
Okay, that's what. No. I know that because you were really
Hatchet.
fun. Yes, I know.
But he does comedy.
You were
and horror
funny.
very well.
Yeah, but you were great.
No, thank you.
Did you do stand-up too?
I did for a little bit. That's how I met my manager, Bruce, actually. And then I didn't anymore.
That's how I met him too.
Oh, did you?
You know, we're in
Are
the
you
same thing. He's my manager too.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Bruce is like just my manager, and also Erica Rhodes. Because he's always like, "Oh yeah, you and Erica Rhodes," and I'm like, "Oh, she's still here." No, she's lovely.
No, she's fine. Yeah. But for a while, there was a time when it was like, okay, what about Andy Kindler and Titus? You know, because there was a time.
I do
yeah.
there, and then now he still has Andy Kindler.
Yeah,
Talks
yeah,
about him
yeah.
all the time, and I'm like, "That's rude. I'm here."
Right. Yeah. No, I know who. I'll go to his house and talk to him directly. You don't need to.
Yeah, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop name dropping, Jesus.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I'm already your client. Yeah. You don't need
I'm
to.
here. I don't have anywhere else to go. I don't think anybody else believes in me. I'm here. I'm here.
All right. Well, what do you say we get started?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's make the magic happen.
Okay.
I thought we'd already started.
No.
We are kind of starting.
No, because we got a bang
Yes. Let's
intro.
do it.
Okay.
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 Wait, are you good? You're good.
I'm not talking until I get introduced.
That's
Thank
right.
you.
Good.
Thank you. And you told her about the horror movie host type thing. Yeah.
I said introduction.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay. Right.
Wait.
What do you need? What's happening?
No, I'm just saying, let's go.
Oh. Okay. All right. Okay.
And I want to give a special thanks to some of our.
I like to give
Some people.
I'm sorry.
Like,
the kids out there in the place.
Let me try
They're
this.
all happening with the cheese and the rabbits.
All right, let me try this again. I didn't know that you were gonna throw the Joe Johnson thing at me. I didn't know that was.
Oh
you
wow!
were
Why did that throw you off? You want to start the show from the top?
You need another Red Bull, Larry? I thought I was
yeah.
drunk. Jesus.
It's been a long day.
Okay.
Okay.
But you fielded it well.
yeah, she did.
Yeah, you really rolled with it.
Yeah,
Think on your feet.
that's what you guys know me as. The smooth rolling.
Smooth roller. Smooth roller.